So now we're actually live. Do you want to introduce yourself, or should I? We're live now. Hello. So you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hello, I'm, Fox of Elderbugs? I don't know, should I just say my name or my ghetto, handlebar name?
So yeah, this is Daniel.
Yeah, this is Daniel, whatever, screw handlebar. Yep, this is Daniel.
And he's the guy that I've been chatting with for about 3 years now, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to get him on stream, so that I don't just talk into the void. Hope that is entertaining.
Sure.
And today we're here just playing Bioshock Infinite Burial at Sea. Well, he plays Red Dead Redemption, and we're talking over Discord.
Yeah, all kinds of video games being played. Trying to get legendary fish like a jackass instead of actually going out fishing.
I can't hear you over the intros!
Oh.
Fucking game company.
Yeah, that was the thing I noticed about your Bioshock Buiral.
I can't hear you! Fuck. Ah. So now it's over. That's probably safe to talk. So now it should be safe to talk.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying, hopefully our audio is pretty good, because when I was listening to your Bioshock 2 stream, it's like you would be talking, all of a sudden the game would blast 500% loud.
Yeah, it's really bad because it just takes so... It's just so difficult for someone who's actually streaming to hear what the actual volume is, so you have to either do it in retrospect, or you have to like ask whether it's okay or not. And my constantly the stream is just minimizing. The game is just constantly minimizing. I don't know why. The thing is, might be... What the fuck? Oh, no. Now I'm fucking in the weird Steam OS thing. Ugh.
Technical difficulties.
I suppose, yeah. The most no big picture mode is what it's called. I'm just going to play it in windowed mode now. Because I know that's usually something that it keeps it from doing this shit. Yeah. So can you check on the volume?
Your stream volume?
Yeah.
Alright. Sounds pretty good right now from what I'm hearing. Yep.
Can you hear yourself?
Yep, I can hear myself.
How does that sound?
Let me hear myself start talking, so because there's a delay on it. So let me see.
Yeah. I just don't want you to like, sound way quieter than I do. Way more quiet than I do. I don't want that. I won't want that.
All right, hang on, quick. Let me hear myself on the stream, real quick.
How does that sound?
Yeah, I can hear myself. I'm a little quiet in the background.
Okay, so I'll just do the audio mixing. That should be better. Oh my god, I think the title sequence, this for Bioshock Infinite, the sort of the intro, whatever the fuck this is, actually has a second track.
Ah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it is da 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 way. This sort of a song. I think it actually has then a song coming after it, but I don't think anyone in the history of anything ever has ever heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you can turn the other thing off.
Alright.
Okay, now you can turn the other thing off.
Okay, yeah, it sounds pretty good now.
Yeah. So yeah, now I'm at the downloadable content screen.
Alright.
So, what's your opinion on Clash in the Clouds, huh?
Clash in the Clouds, fun for about 5 minutes. Trying to get the achievements on that is a nightmare.
Yeah. It's like, I think the only reason it exists, besides the whole, what you said about, that they really needed something for the season pass. I think beyond that, it's...
Oh yeah, we paid 20... Yeah, I remember, because if you remember the opinions at the time, I was like, oh no, we paid $20 for the season pass. It's 6 months. We have no idea what you paid for. Can you give us something? And that Clash in the Clouds came out the same day as Burial at Sea trailer. Yeah. I remember people weren't happy about it. And then when Burial at Sea came out, part 1, everyone's like, what? That's it? It's over in an hour?
Yeah. Yeah, I think other than that, it's really just to pad out sort of this achievement thing. So we will never get any of the achievements from, like, the full... you get the completed thing, the completed tag on Steam.
Yeah, I'm still salty about that because when Bioshock Infinite came out, I'm like, yeah, I got 100% completion. Then when that freaking Clash in the Clouds came out and asked you to get those blue ribbons, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm never getting 100% on this game again.
Yeah.
God, I haven't been that salty since New Vegas, where I got all the achievements in that game, and then when the Gunrunners pack, it says do all these achievements, and I got all those achievements at once, but it shows them I got them, but it doesn't display them, and I've never been so angry because of that.
Well, you should get salty because this is Burial at Sea.
Part 1?
No, it's Burial at Sea, and therefore you should get salty. It's kind of keeping in the theme.
Nice salted seasoning, I suppose.
No, because it's the ocean, obviously.
Ah, yeah. It's near electricity.
I never understood these things like easy, medium, and hard. Like if you're very experienced with FPS games and enjoy a challenge, start here. Like usually it's not.
Yeah, well, the Bioshock games are not known for their difficulty. Even 1999 mode isn't that bad. The only reason why it's hard is they artificially make it harder by saying, "Don't spend any money, you might get an achievement." And that's what makes it harder in quotations.
Yeah, that's just shit. So I'm just gonna play on medium. Or should I play on hard? Or should I play on hard just to display my...
Hard.
Could you stop interrupting me?
Can you, are you able to focus and stream? Because I know when you were playing your Bioshock 2 or whatever, it's like, I'm not very good at this, so I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable doing while talking to some jackass.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about maybe playing it on hard just to display my gamer skills with a Z at the end.
Gamer skills.
Yeah, with an edit.
With your gamer fuel and your Doritos.
You know, it was so weird actually seeing like Dr. Pepper and like Mountain Dew like in Germany. It's so weird.
Yeah. Is it just called Mountain Dew, or is it like, do they actually have like a name for it?
I don't know. I've only seen Dr. Pepper up until now.
No.
Like, but what I really hate is this metonym dev. Like the metonym. Like how you don't spell mountain. Or they don't actually spell
Really?
it out.
Huh.
I hate that.
Never knew that. It's interesting.
Yeah, W
It's like that thing.
and T.
W. Huh. If you want me to shut up during the cutscene, just let me know. Which this game is like 20% cutscene, so. Or at least the DLC.
Oh, yeah. No, I can actually control it.
Yeah, bob that head.
Huh? Yeah. Hey, can you see actually out of those blinds? Yeah? Yeah, good.
Yeah. Show off their amazing lighting engine.
Actually, in this scene, it's really good. They actually, I remember reading on the wiki that they actually like tweaked the engine just to get this like these shiny effects for the Rapture bits.
To really emphasize how pretty this place looked like before it went to hell.
Yeah. Although I still don't understand how in this like 1950s utopia or whatever, or dystopia or whatever you want to call it, there's still like this old, like in the corner of the office there's this really old furnace that looks like it's powered by a fucking wooden coal.
Yeah, the one that's probably killing everybody, carbon monoxide.
I don't know if that's actually true, but like he's this weird oven. It's this weird oven. I don't know if you can see it on stream. It's like it's this weird oven here that feels totally out of place with all the Art Deco surroundings. I think that's actually.
I think it's more like we gotta do constants and variables of this is what Booker's office looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It looks cool. Just like he's got his war medals on that or whatever on the corner over there.
Yeah.
His cavalry or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. Like in this continuity, I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if I want to spoil it, but like you know, in the main game, he's like the Pinkertons or something. The Battle of Wounded Knee shit. Like, remember, we're in the 50s now. We're in the 50s. Like, is this still in this continuity?
Yeah, I always interpret it as like, because, you know, he wants to remember how he got it. I always interpret it as because, you know, he doesn't, you know, because when you jump time cores, you create your own past. So I always interpreted that he fought in either, I don't know, because, you know, I like to imagine he interpreted that he fought in either the Great War or World War II.
Yeah.
So I always interpret it as that because, you know, when you jump in through, you can't remember where you came from. So that's what I always interpret it, but we could be overthinking it.
Yeah, I think, like, the actual I think they actually explained it that, you know, that he basically is just Comstock and that he didn't, like, this is actually from Wounded Knee, so that he just put it up. Which must be really awkward for people just going into his office and saying, like where did you want this? Is
that your paw stuff?
Huh?
I guess that could make sense. You know, he could say it's my father's stuff since by that point it would have been his dad.
Actually, would have been his father.
Served. Yeah, but his own father. I don't know.
Or his grandfather.
His own grandfather.
It could be, but then again, I'm not publicly displaying the medals my great grandfather won in the Red War.
Why, you don't post them above your Pinkerton desk or whatever?
Huh? No, it's just weird because, you know, it's kind of tacky how when you like display medals you haven't actually won. I think that's actually tacky.
I got this at a pawn store.
Yeah. Oh, that's even worse. That's even worse. When you got it at a pawn store.
Oh yeah, I just realized you haven't lightened or cigarette. We're just too busy walking around this office looking at the lighting and inaccuracies.
That's just the people we are. We're just literally looking at every fucking thing trying to nitpick.
What do these mean? What do these letters mean? What does this say? Is it too pixelated to read?
Yeah. Like, I think this is actually like the Ryan Industries logo here on the little ashtray.
Oh, little Ryan's, yeah.
The little R. But what I like is that the race forms, you know, the papers of the horse races actually are an Art Deco font. Like they actually remade these to have an Art Deco font. That's great. And you know what? I would What? What? What do you want to say? Never mind. What I was trying to say was, I would kill for to have like a flip calendar like this, to have an Art Deco flip calendar.
Yeah. Pretty sure they make them on Etsy, unless you want to actually get a real thing.
Like Etsy, right, hipster eBay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering, because you said they made all these assets. Do you think they made them for the DLC, or because they had so much crap left over from when they made 5 games worth of stuff that they just threw it in here?
No. This is like Rapture. Keeping in Rapture. Another thing, they actually, like in the game process of making a game, they actually didn't make that many assets.
Mm-hmm.
They only planned ahead, and then I think like these tiny assets actually like come last, because they just take so much time to make and place. But I don't know. I'm not a game designer.
Yeah. But it's like nothing's worse than looking at that wiki of like, here's all the cool stuff we left out of Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah. But at least they kept this cool bit in.
Yeah. If anything, there's one thing I love about this DLC, as you mentioned, you like the atmosphere. I love the skybox in this game. I wish they put that in the original, because I've never been a big fan of that poison green that they had in the original skybox. Rapture.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Just the blues and the blacks are really pretty, especially when you see the city from a distance when you're in a Frank Fontaine store. I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really amazing.
Dozens of her tied down by the docks for the slums in Apollo Square.
I still don't know how fucking docks work in an underwater city.
But her, as I said,
How they work?
Yeah, like docks. Like when you imagine docks, like piers, like these little wooden things where ships dock. Yeah, or does this work like a giant is it a
Be
giant
like a submarine dock kind of area?
Yeah, like an air I'm trying to think of the word, like an air like an fuck, what is the name? Like an airlock, like a giant airlock. Yeah, because how do you implement a harbor in an underwater city? Like, do you actually do it like in the original, when you like arrive in Rapture, that it's like these tubes that go up into this air bubble that the rooms create, or what?
That sounds like that'd be incredibly difficult for ships to navigate.
We're talking about submarines here. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, submarine base.
Yeah,
because submarines, like they don't freaking turn on the dimes. I'd imagine they need a lot of room clearance just to enter. Of course, you got submarine bays, so
yeah.
I'm not an expert in that.
But then again, it does kind of make sense when you consider that this is post World War II, and all the submarine bases during the war that they built.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, this would be a detail looking way too into it. Like, because after World War I, they had so many surplus of planes that they were using. Anyone could buy them for cheap. That's why they became like mail planes, and they were used in stunts and stuff like that. So I wonder after post World War II, they bought a lot of that subs and stuff from like the Army and stuff like that, or for like the U.S. or whatever. Because weapons surplus is easy to come across after wars.
Yeah. I remember I saw an ad online for like a Jeep that was for $50. Like $50 for a fucking Jeep.
I believe it.
Like, that's fucking cool. But then again, you probably know that story with Pepsi and the submarines.
Oh, the thing of like we're gonna trade for Russia because we love Pepsi so much, so let's like trade you like millions of dollars worth of military equipment to Pepsi. That then suddenly Pepsi became one of the largest navies in the world.
Yeah, the 6th largest navy or something. Yeah.
Keep it and just put Pepsi all over their battleships and submarines. Gosh.
Oh god, I love this song. Sometimes we walk hand in hand by the sea. And we breathe in the cool, salty air. There are a lot of things I actually want to ask Sander Cohen.
Yeah.
You know what I
In
mean?
particular, or yeah.
No, because you have this poster that says, "Why even ask?" Like.
Yeah, why even ask? Too much stuff. Hey, what about that childhood trafficking? Oh, we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, actually, I'm more thinking about asking him whether or not he's gay.
Yeah, I think it's ambiguous because you remember in the actually I don't even think it's ambiguous. It's like when you remember in Fort Frolic or whatever, you have to go kill his former disciples and you listen to their diary entries and it's heavily implied.
Oh.
Where Cobb was like, you know what you had to do, or I liked you because you paid my rent. So I think it's heavily implied.
So I guess the title.
Disciples.
So I guess the title, Why Even Ask, kind of is apt here.
What's this girl to you?
What I need from her is my business. But I know where to start looking. Something tells me a man with your particular talents could be useful.
Afternoon.
So what do you think of his? I don't know, because this is it's finally because everyone got a decent character model. Do you like his character model in this game, or you're not a real big fan of it?
What do you mean?
When you finally meet him, because in the original Bioshock, was it Sandra Cohen, Andrew Ryan, and Atlas or Fontaine were the only characters in that game to get an actually unique model?
Yeah, but only like the end boss version of Fontaine.
Yeah.
Like the guy who actually meets you in the submarine bay is just a generic Splicer model.
With a hat, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at them lens flares. That's one thing Bioshock loved was their lens flares.
Yeah, lens flares. Oh my god. I'm glad I'm playing this with you and not someone who actually, like someone from CinemaSins, because they wouldn't shut up about that shit. If I was,
Yeah.
if I was,
Negative 1 point. So. It looks so pretty. I love the decor. They did a real good job at recreating Rapture.
oh my god, now I see what you mean with the lens flares. It's the entire screen.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Can't unsee it now.
What, the lens flares? Yeah. Well, they have to use all that geothermal energy somehow.
Yep. Might as well put it in bright stage light lens flares.
It's actually interesting how long it took for to actually have like high capacity batteries. You know what I mean?
Cabin in Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
That like lithium batteries were actually sort of invented like fairly recently, like actually powerful ones.
Yeah.
But if they're anything like the batteries you have like in your iPhone, like they are
Ones that probably don't explode.
yeah, but like these things are they don't last long, do they?
No. Plus, this is like 1950s Rapture technology, so it's either made to fail instantly or it lasts for about 5 minutes. You gotta buy a new one, which that makes me wonder about it. Was this because it's supposed to be a super like hyper, idealistic capitalist paradise? So like, is everything made to fail so you can buy something new?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, suppose you wouldn't want like your pipes to fail and everything.
Yeah, because when Bioshock 1, by the time you arrive, Atlas says, "Welcome to the world's cheapest piece of junk."
No, I don't think he said that. He said something.
Or something like that. Something along the lines, because after you defeat
cool-
Dr. Steinman, that tunnel collapse, so you can get that obligatory. This is how the Little Sisters work system.
Yeah,
So.
but a biggest growing piece of junk is what he said.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't think he actually meant this because it's now in disrepair. Because it actually does take like a lot to actually maintain this.
Yep.
It's almost too big to maintain, right?
Yep.
But in terms of capitalism and like the way
Exceptional. Those parasites resent it, condemn it, or worse,
like in the way the capitalism works, I think like because you don't have regulation, because you don't have laws prohibiting like a control.
Zoning.
No, I think you have that actually. Yeah, because it's all done. I think the zoning thing is actually done by Rapture itself, by some kind of private enterprise. No,
Security private
yeah,
companies or something.
I think something that works really close with the Rapture government.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually don't have
Or the
problems
Rapture
with that.
Council or whatever.
Yes, I think everything in Bioshock in Rapture is basically just already pre-planned, or like with no third party, with no architects, or with no zoners in mind, with no like I'm buying this property No, because there isn't actually traditional property on the sea floor, is there?
Nope, because that's why it's called international waters, because nobody can really own it unless you're like China building islands out there. But still,
No. I mean, not like that. I mean, like in
like
terms of
underwater properties. Is that what you mean?
yeah. Yeah, especially because everything is a skyscraper.
Yeah.
That you basically only they can buy these tiny units.
Yeah. I know it's really cool, but at the same time, it feels incredibly. There's a reason why you do taxes and stuff like that, because maintaining an actual city privately is not economical. That's why a lot of those large corporations in the 1800s are like, yeah, we're not going to run countries anymore because we actually have to do infrastructure, and that's expensive.
Yeah, that's why kind of like we can't have like anarcho-capitalism. You know that meme ideology.
Let's just say I don't get out much.
You've got eyes
Or at
on
least
yourself.
to that extreme.
Share
Yeah.
my story, Mr. DeWitt. I would write my
But you know, companies, they always push it.
anything about Rapture.
They always push their limits and everything.
Wouldn't it be great? I guess for them.
Where we
Of course, they like to do is just like, hey, we need to make a profit because our keep our shareholders. Well, we can't make a profit, so let's just merge with somebody so it artificially inflates our numbers
Yeah.
during quarterlies,
Yeah.
which is like the dumbest thing ever. But I guess that's what they like to do.
Yeah. I don't know if you have an actual word for that, but we do.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Monopolkapitalismus. Literally monopol. Literally monopol. You know what monopol is, and you know what capitalismus is. You know monopol capitalism.
That's actually a pretty cool word. I don't actually remember that.
The monopolistic capitalism.
Last time you saw Sally.
I think it was a huge buzzword during the whole Cold War era.
Down at
You know, for the GDR.
You were playing the tables
She disappeared.
and
Cop
You know what's really funny? Like, I don't know if you've actually heard
found her floating.
of like
the body. Did you
the guy
see the body?
with whom the GDR started.
Not shot.
Like he had
There's a prophet to
he had a really funny voice.
I'm taking
He had a really funny voice.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, the guy who started the GDR, or who was like a big thing who actually built the wall.
The Berlin Wall.
Yeah, he built the wall. Yeah. He sounded a bit like this. Oh shit! Sorry. So my uncle is sleeping below.
I was just looking at your stream, and I just now realized when you were going up that elevator where it shows you that fontaine, I just realized comparable to that building, that Big Daddy's incredibly massive for that building.
Right. Oh my god, yeah.
I think my favorite thing in the skybox, it's such a little detail that you'll never notice, but if you ever zoom in along all those buildings, you see little shadows walking along the walkways, and that's like one of my favorite little details that they put in the game for Rapture.
I don't really see it. They see shadows in the windows, but not on the walkways.
Yeah, like I don't know. Probably when you got out and they played that one song "Wonderful" along the walkways. If you ever zoom in on along the big long walkways connecting the buildings.
Ah, now I see it. Now I see it.
Yeah.
Now I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're walking. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Such a cool little detail. Like that's nice.
Yeah.
The skybox amazing. The blues and the blacks look amazing.
Yeah. You know what I love about this section?
What?
The civil applications for the plasmids.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's teleporting
Well,
around and the guy's
Kind of see
teleporting
how they were
around.
actually useful rather than being creepy.
Yeah. Although, you know, with Bioshock it is mostly like we designed this to be cool game mechanics and then
Kind of see him in the world actually working.
yeah, but I think they actually made this just for the reason of hey, let's have this and then retroactively like draw posters for it
Yeah.
of how it could be integrated for civilian applications.
Yeah. My favorite thing though, I was reading it recently of like why the teleport plasmid wasn't in the game, and I was reading it up on the wiki, and then I was watching the Bioshock Hub. It's like, yeah, the reason why they took the teleport plasmid out is because that led to players sequence breaking the game.
Yeah.
Because it worked and stuff like that. Like that's funny.
Yeah.
But technically, you can sequence break in New Game Plus. You can completely bypass Farmer's Market if you have all your supplies from the previous game, so you can completely bypass that scene, anyways.
Yeah. What I love about this, though, comparatively to Bioshock 2, is what I said before. That you have these machines, the need-to-know theaters, you know, which are these anachronistic, like these Edison booths where you just look in.
Are you in the know?
And they just tell you more about the society.
You doubtlessly
Yeah. Some of those are really cool if you ever see them in real life. Like, let's put a nickel in or whatever. You kind of see a little thing play out.
Yeah.
Frank Fontaine, business leader and
Yeah,
benefactor of mankind?
it's interesting though.
Was he the best friend the
Like when you
parasite
think
ever
about it,
had?
you have these plasmids that, like to us, are primarily military focused. Obviously, in retrospect, like you remember these things were like designed
At his
under Fontaine,
patients became test subjects,
Fontaine, yeah.
and his orphanage
which means that he probably played a long game with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he might actually
once they
develop them for military applications and just like put a veil over them of commercialism.
jurisdict's owner.
Mm-hmm.
But a coward to the end.
Well,
Fontaine
too, I
found
remember
a
from the
hail
audio
of
logs too, where
preferable
Andrew
to
Ryan's like,
basic
wow,
justice.
you know, because while Ryan was, you know, because if you remember in his business, Ryan did very traditional capitalist business, while Fontaine was like literally on the cusp of new technologies that Ryan never thought of, like nuclear sequencing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Fontaine was super ahead in the technology game, while Ryan was kind of like, we're doing steel and industry, you know, generic
Yeah.
stuff.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Which I guess in a way, after watching The Founder, I kind of would have liked to see Fontaine get away the way Michael Keaton did in The Founder. Like,
Yeah.
I got it all by just swindling Ryan out of his own shit.
Yeah.
Evolution in a bottle. Yeah, I don't know, maybe because I always wanted to see it because it's a game mechanic. Because you know how the plasmids come in a big red thing, then from Bioshock 2 you put a freaking needle in it. So like, do you buy it and then you have to constantly reapply it by injecting yourself with it, or you just drink it, or
Yeah,
big old red plasmid things?
I don't know. It's just, I think it literally is just Eve. Like,
Oh yeah, because I know Eve you have to replenish it, but with the red stuff, like you just do it once and then you just need a supply of Eve to
Yeah.
keep it going, or do you have to apply both over time?
yeah, I think it's literally just Eve.
Oh.
Free coin.
I'll find my source inside of that glove.
What does that lunatic have to do with Sally?
Just imagine standing on one of these pedestals in front of koans, just doing interpretive dance, just the entire day.
Dramatic dance.
You just imagine doing this just the entire day. Just because you know how like Disney parks work, where they have these secret like tunnels.
Private party.
They can't like just to keep the illusion going. Like, wonder if they're doing the same here, or if it's literally.
Probably.
Then again, but they are just standing on these pedestals, just the entire day, and that's kind of funny. Like someone is just complaining about being
I
tired.
remember. Isn't that then again too back in the day before you had a lot of advertising? Plus, in that time period, wouldn't that have been common to have actual people playing mannequins to like stand at windows and display stuff, or is that more like a few years prior? Could you watch a couple old movies and stuff from around the 20s and 30s? You see people like, oh, I'm a standing mannequin, and you know they're standing there displaying an item for like being paid to stand there.
I've never seen that.
So I guess they're just I guess that's kind of what they're showing, unless it's just AKA art project.
Yeah, this is basically an art project, and I just
Yeah.
imagine how awkward this would actually be to do, like in real life, to actually organize this.
Yep, and then what makes it even worse is nobody's standing there looking at it, so it's just they're doing it for nothing.
Yeah, but then again, like maybe this is just part of the plasmid game. You know what I mean? Like they're all mind controlled and have like super endurance. Or maybe we're overthinking it again.
Yep, overthinking it. I don't know. They either thought of it, or they never explained it, or they want to leave it to ambiguity, or you're just overthinking it.
I mean, they're just doing it for effect.
Trustee represents, sir.
Dramatic.
Yes, which business?
DeWitt Investigations.
Mr. Cohen does not truck with private detectives. Masks of invitation.
This is the first time I've seen truck as a verb.
I'm with the artist shop that we're
No
expected.
mask, no entry.
Stuffed shirt.
These imitation masks he spoke of. They must have gone out to local artisans.
Well, I guess we'll have to
You know what makes no sense?
The business of rapture is
Like she,
The what?
says it's
like Elizabeth,
struggle, the golden rule.
is actually like Cohen's apprentice.
disciple?
Yeah. So I don't know why she isn't just going here and just saying, "Oh
Yep.
look."
They probably did it to stretch out gameplay, because otherwise the sequence is really short.
Yeah.
Because really think about it, you go from your office to there and it would have been over, rather than like, hey, look at all this cool assets we created. Let's show 'em off.
Right.
So-
Right.
What brought you to Rapture?
Uh.
Really? You don't strike me as the
Right. Some of the assets really are beautiful.
then what?
There's a debt that needs repaying.
I've known my share of Shylocks. You're no Shylock.
It wasn't that kind of debt.
Just imagine, like in parallel universes, you have all these buildings here
Hand on the chain.
in like as real buildings, but now in our timeline they're just relegated to be just like statues in video games.
Yeah. I still think it's funny that Andrew Ryan, even though he's basically supposed to be Ayn Rand, I would like to imagine that they actually built Rapture looking like that shitty architecture from the Fountainhead. It
Yeah.
looks like regular old 1950s thing, rather than this beautiful Art Deco.
Yeah.
I've been we would have felt very different about that city.
Oh my god, yes. Then again, it was probably just what it's supposed to represent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although, I don't know if Ayn Rand actually tried to make a statement, like with
It's
this.
hard to tell because their books are either. There's a really good joke from like, I don't know, Eugene Yerman, whatever the hell his name was, talking about an Ayn Rand novel where it's poorly written but highly entertaining.
Yeah,
So
it's weird because, like, does she not like the architecture in the movie, or because that's supposed to be like a stand-in for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does she not like Greek revivalism? Because
Yeah, isn't that what it was called in the movie or book? Wasn't it like Greco-Roman revival or something?
yeah.
Greek
Does she-
revival.
Does she not like it because it represents something, or because she doesn't like it visually? Because how would Art Deco even
no.
fit into this? How would Art Deco fit into this? Because it's like heavily inspired by, like, it always is coupled with these elements of like classical elements. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm thinking of things like these. Like, there's a lot of things, a lot of interesting classical influence in like the Empire State Building and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would she actually felt about that? Because it's basically just like she's ignoring this huge architectural movement of the time period. It only makes this about modern architecture, like quote unquote modern, what we understand as like post-war architecture, and like this really Greco-Roman. I suppose was modern architecture really just Art Deco now? Like when she wrote this book? Because, you know,
Because that book came out in like what, the late 40s, 47 that it came out, and they made the movie like a year later or a couple years later.
actually I think it came out in 43.
43. Oh, that early? Wow, I thought it was like mid 40s.
I have to look that up. The
Because I thought it was like 47 or 48, but you could be right.
Fountainhead, yeah, 1943.
Wow.
Like back then, would modern architecture basically have been Art Deco?
True.
Because, you know, the whole post-war movement that architecture sort of went through. Because there's like this thing that you
Yeah.
have after wars where like architecture gets like comparatively, just based on the circumstances, more boring, more simplified.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be imagined to be more. I think it could be more simplified, though. It's hard to imagine because, you know, like as we were talking about, that architecture of the 50s, that office architecture was seen as ugly by now, but it's hard to look at it from the time period where it was considered new and considered like efficient, and you know, because, you know, that's what a lot of people like. You know, you hear like stuff from like Frank Lloyd Wright, where he talked about, I hate all these square buildings
Yeah.
and stuff like that. How much he liked the postmodern architecture. He thought it was ugly. Like you said, he doesn't curve with the environment and stuff like that. And, you know, it's hard to tell because, you know, I'm not familiar with architecture because I haven't been in school for like 10 years. But like, there's like, you know, just to be in the mindset of the period.
Yeah.
Like, what was it considered Same thing too for fashion, because I remember reading about it. Because I have a few fashion books. I remember reading about like just even post-war fashion, and the famous dress of the '50s, which you ironically enough you see in this game, the new look fashion, the big dresses, and how that angered a lot of women in that time period, because a lot of like French women were like, hey, we're so used to wearing, post-war, war fashion, wartime fashions, where it was very restrictive of materials. So, and like the new look was seen as like wasteful of materials, frivolous, I guess.
Yeah, but then again, like it's France. Like you talked about France, yeah. You know how France is. You probably don't know how France is because you're American. But
I don't know. Where did that church burn down? I think it was in Spain.
Too soon, man. Too soon. No, I think it's literally just because like France tries, as far as I understand, to be like really they had to cut down on most of the things, like in sort of the popular fashion. That it tries to, at least as far as I understand. I mean, I only live in Europe, but I'm not actually familiar with the common culture of France, obviously. Like the Parisian culture, I'm not familiar with. But as far as I understand, they basically like to keep things like short, and I think it's just a part of the mindset of like this. We're trying to move away from royalty, so basically, the less flashy stuff is better. Traditionally flashy, not like artistically flashy. Like big patterns and everything. That they basically like try to cut down on most of that. But then again, would be interesting to actually have a French person talk about this. How did we get onto France anyway?
Like I said, I'm just trying to remember going off from the few books I've read. So then again, I tried reading fashion and stuff like that, because like, oh yeah, it turns out you actually know about fashion is the reason why certain clothes exist. So it's like, oh yeah, I should probably learn up on that.
Yeah.
So, but again, like I said, I don't remember too much because it's been years since I've looked up some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then again, that's not my area of expertise of time period too, because I've been mostly looking at 1900s crap. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This guy with his freaking Beatles haircut.
Oh yeah. It's weird because I don't want to comment on things on screen because you have latency and you can't comment on it.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to find stuff to look at. Otherwise, we'll be just like talking to ether too.
Yeah. But his weird haircut is just so weird.
Yeah. Which I should ask you. Speaking of which, how do you feel about in Burial at Sea? How they included a lot more 50s music and stuff like that?
What do you mean?
You hear like the Great Pretenders playing in the background, a little bit more 1950s music, and then heck, you hear a Patsy Cline song, which didn't come out until the mid 60s. When she plays that song, I think what's the song in part 2, Back in Baby's Arms or whatever.
Yeah, Back in Baby's Arms. Yeah, that's, although I don't have a problem with that because it sort of fits into the themes.
It fits,
yeah, rather than something like, you know how some songs in Bioshock 4, and Fallout 4, like sound really 60s
music?
No, where they play 60s music.
Wait, which ones were those?
They, like Scooter, whatever her name was.
Oh, Skeeter Davis?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like the most 60s thing you could imagine.
Yep. 60s song, which feels so out of place.
Yeah, that's so weird to me.
That kind of bothers me because I know we talked about this in the past about the music in Fallout and how they don't actually play anything. They play very little songs from the 50s. They play mostly songs from the 40s.
Yeah, that's actually more of a Fallout 3 thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bethesda seems to have a terrible fucking concept of what it actually wants in its games. Like for music, like I don't know if this was for copyright reasons because, as far as I know,
they had the money.
Yeah, but as far as I know, American copyright, like
copyright music, yeah, it's true. Well, it depends because some of those songs I know are not the most expensive to get licensed for, but I guess it just comes down to what they wanted. Because then again, isn't there only like 5 or 13 songs in Fallout 3?
I don't know.
The public domain Patriot songs, but
yeah, or the classical music.
Yeah, the John Henry Eating Station or whatever.
Yeah, I know what I mean. I know what you mean. Yeah. It's just they went for, like, I don't know. It seems like a lot more like an economical choice rather than something that would actually fit.
Yeah, because like when Fallout 4 came out, they have like what the 150 song, the
Atom Bomb Baby.
Wanderer.
Oh yeah.
It's like one of the only, one of the few 1950 songs.
Yeah, they have a few, but
Yeah, which again, that's really weird to look at because the whole point of Fallout is like we preserved 1950s culture.
Yeah.
Which, it's supposed to be very conservative. So that means wouldn't rock and roll really not taken off then? Because like in the 60s, because in response to rock and roll, you had a huge country revival, which was seen as the counter culture.
Yeah.
So like wouldn't they have been listening to more country music? Because it would have been seen as more conservative rather than like loose rock, since the 50s were a very rebellious time.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I think they just have things like imagine main character in one line. He mentioned talking about doo-wop things. You know what? Doo-wop, the doo-wop, doo-wop, the ooh. So that kind of style of the 50s, so I suppose. Although it's weird that you have like these popular trends from the 50s then continue on.
Yeah. Which is funny too. I always find it funny. I felt like it could have been made more sense to actually have covers of those songs rather than the original songs.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's the equivalent of listening to Christmas music, where you're listening to the same damn artist and there's no real new versions of those songs.
Yeah.
That's what people love, is they love covers of songs.
Yeah, but then again, it's just kind of like because you have an artist today. Like, you don't have the same inhibitions or the same styles as they did in the 50s, so it's gonna sound really weird. Because I remember in Planet 51, you know those fucking like pop covers of.
Yeah, I know the movie.
You know those pop covers of songs that they did there.
Yeah, that's what they did for Stubbs of Zombies, though. I think that game actually worked because it made it charming. But yeah, I know what you mean.
They're just gonna sound like you have people from now who are like used to this, the usual pop crap, and gonna sing things like pop crap and just rarely have the same kind of tone to it.
It would come down to sound, because I remember listening to a couple of radio programs on, like, I don't know, the public radio, where they're talking about why does that music sound so distinct, and is the way it was recorded because it was on vinyl or whatever, but also the rooms they were in, it was a distinct certain sound. That's like what made certain like popular music from the 50s and 60s so unique, is the sound it was recorded in.
Oh, actually.
Like Motown and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
it's the
Motown.
sound. So if you do it now, it's going to be too clean, so you're not going to get that authentic look unless you actually try to recreate it.
Yeah, but I think it's more of the way people sound.
Sing it? Yeah.
Yeah, people sing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rather than the actual thing. Although it would be kind of too ambitious to actually have, like, unless you have someone who's really experimental, like who's really like into audio technology.
Yeah, and
do
then also,
something like
that's
this.
also if the game wants to invest in making those music too. Like shit, I'm surprised Wolfenstein did what it did with its music.
Oh yeah,
Some of those songs they didn't use, but some of those they actually made for the game.
Yeah, but I mean, it's actually like someone independently from like video games.
Yeah.
Like would make like, unless you have someone like the Beatles, how they'd like be more experimental with their use of audio technology, like recording technology. Like unless you'd have this level of like creative nuance to it, like unless you have that, I don't see anyone really wanting or being able to create or recreate this sort of sound.
I guess you could do that, but it'd be like more niche, because if you go look around, there's a lot of like here's like people trying to recreate it. Like you have different revivals and stuff like that. It's its own sound, but at the same time, you're right. It's like if you really want to go through the effort to recreate it, because there are some people that do like recreate that style or like different sounds and stuff like that. But it is, you're right. Like it's the way they sing it. It's not like 100% recreation, because it would be almost impossible considering the environment it was in. Yeah,
but I really mean just the way they sing it, because they didn't do it. They would have if they could have, but they didn't. Just the thing that they could control. The things that they control that we could control now, that's the fear they would have with covers of songs.
I'd imagine too, one of the biggest advantages you have now is track layering, because back in the day you had to sing one individual layer, and you can only do like a few of them at a time.
Actually, yeah,
that's what made like Bohemian Rhapsody such a complicated song, is how many layers it needed, because you can't do layer mixing like you can now.
Yeah, when I think about layers, I think about Lollipop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have this that sounds real. Like I want someone to make a video of literally that's this beginning part of Lollipop, You know, the like the clapping. I don't. Oh shit! Oh, it's this. I have just this one German ad that I really love. It's like Shazam. That I would really like to Shazam just for the song that's playing in it, playing right now. But I've never actually had it on PC, so that I could Shazam it with my iPad. And now that I finally have it on PC, I'm doing a stream. I hate that. This is like this really nice Italian song. But what I try to say is this: like, I want someone to make a video of just this clapping that would just eventually echo into nothingness, because it has this very echo tone to it of Lollipop. Like, they listen to Lollipop, like, and then it's just this really weird. But no wait, this is live action. Ah, fuck. No.
Find a karaoke version.
No, I mean the studio version. It sounds really weird there.
The way it sounds.
But it's literally just. It sounds like someone who's just clapping in a really big church or something. You know what I mean? A big empty church, and it is like bum ba bam bum ba bam. And I want someone to make a video just include just a 10-hour version of just this clapping, or something where
that'd be actually interesting.
Where they just put like a twist on it, because it just sounds so weird audibly. But it's just this weird...
Clapping in general is weird, but yeah, with that context, it's even weirder.
Yeah, it sounds like something from a creepypasta. But then you have this. Lolly 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly 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 lollipop. Yeah, that's what I think of when like audio layering. I don't know if they recorded this clapping separately, but it sounds so weird. It sounds so weird. Like they did it in a big empty room. Like not with someone in it, not in a recording studio. Yeah, just have this weird echoing clap.
Yeah.
That really reminds me of like a creepypasta.
This clap that could kill you or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that sounds creepypasta.
No, like a monster that just in the background you just hear the clap, bum ba ba. And then it just, when you turn around, it just kills you.
Yeah, or what's that movie, The Conjuring? I remember this stupid trailer for this monster movie. It was like The Conjuring or whatever, and somebody's just standing all dramatic in shadow, and this like creepy hands clap, and it's like supposed to be scary.
It's just so weird when you put it like you can't really get yourself into that context of being scary, like doing these very artistic-y things, because you're sitting in a chair or you're sitting somewhere, looking at this screen, and you say, "Oh yeah, it's a horror movie trailer." It's really not scary. It's kind of funny because they just clap like an idiot.
Gotta have a jump scare your audience to make them go see it, because it's done cheaply and it'll make a profit.
Yeah.
Hey pal, you want to help out the little lady? Yes, of course.
I'm interested in this piece.
Ah, excellent. You and I have a choice. It's a natural sapphire and diamond, 18-karat gold ring, fully hallmark for Paris, 1887.
Really?
The center Cabochon.
It's actually interesting how they.
Fine talk about a stolen ring.
It's actually interesting about like France in between, like the end of the Franco-Prussian War or the Franco-German War and the Great War. Like in between, this was like called the Grande Époque. You know, like the great period. Just mainly because of nostalgia of how it was before, like the Germans ruined everything, so to speak. It's kind of funny how things change. I wonder if they're gonna talk about our times like this. Like, I have a theory that we're living in like the afterglow of like the 20th century, like high for Western culture. Then when everything slowly goes down, like in the same way it did for Rome, like just under this assumption that it goes like for Rome, that like like things like
Might be some work back with those shopkeepers.
things like something even just like Justin Bieber is gonna be remembered fondly.
Is it going to be remembered after 15? Because, you know, it's like the thing, if you read about silent movies and only like 20% of it actually remains because so many of it just got destroyed. So, like, who knows what we remember. Though, then again, we got better with categorization, though. It begs to, what really begs to be remembered is how much of that digital stuff actually stays, doesn't get corrupted. Because I remember reading a couple articles where they talked about, you know, because everyone's moving to digital because it's such a new technology, they don't know how, if it's going to be corrupted. And that's the worst thing, is having corrupted data.
Yeah.
So, it's actually a really good question. Though, like, it's kind of hard because I remember when I read a lot of, at least a few books I read on economics, stuff like that, because, you know, obviously you're right, because Europe was at its highest before the Great War, but though I wonder if that would have been a sustainable system of growth, because, you know, you read about how, what was it? I think like Spain in the 1600s, because you know how Spain was the world's largest superpower when they discovered the thing, and they were competing with Portugal and stuff like that. But eventually they just couldn't compete because what they were seeking, like they just couldn't compete in terms of like what their period of growth was unsustainable. So I'm wondering if all those countries' highs and before the Great War, if the Great War didn't happen, if they would have had a period of unsustainable growth, because you know a large percentage of economies relied on the colonies.
Yeah.
But, you know, because I often relied on, you know, we're getting super cheap, you know, raw materials from these countries. Would that have actually been sustainable long enough?
Yeah. I think what's important, like for Germany, especially because of the two wars, that we've moved to really fine engineering. Like we don't, like I told you about how we don't have a lot of mines anymore and everything. Yeah. So like, this first stage of production is already done, but in Germany we have like these incredibly small parts that we're engineering, like in phones. Like you have these Huawei phones now that are that actually have cameras from the company in my hometown, like lights, Leica. Like Leica cameras are now in Huawei phones. So a lot of these small parts are manufactured in Germany, even though they're assembled in China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. To have stuff manufactured. That's what Volkswagen does for the U.S. for its U.S. branch. They manufacture all the parts in Mexico, then they ship them to U.S. plants, or U.S. manufacturing plants, so they can assemble them, but it's cheaper. Yeah.
Hold on for a moment.
That makes sense to assemble it somewhere.
So hold on, my mother.
But yeah, I know what you mean. The phones. Yeah. Sorry.
My mother just called something. I'm just gonna pause the stream.
Okay.
Marsch ins Dritte Reich. Der Führer sagt, jetzt kommt der letzte Winter. Nur jetzt nicht schlapp gemacht, ihr müsst marschieren. Der Führer fährt voran im 12-Zylinder. Marsch, 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 ihr dürft die Fühlung nicht verlieren. Es ist ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche. Man soll's nicht glauben, wie sich das zieht. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, von der aus man den Silberstreifen sieht. Der Führer sagt, nur nicht in Lumpen laufen, hat's ja schon gesagt, der Industrie. Wir wollen neue Uniformen kaufen, der Hauptmann Röhm liebt uns nicht ohne die. Es ist ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche, ein bisschen Liebe macht ihn halb so schwer. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, und kameradschaftlich sei der Verkehr. Der Führer hat gesagt, er lebt noch lange und er wird älter als der Hindenburg. Er kommt noch dran, da ist ihm gar nicht bange, und drum pressiert's ihm gar nicht. Und dadurch ist es ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche. Es ist unglaublich, wie sich das zieht. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, von der aus man den Silberstreifen sieht. Marsch ins Dritte Reich. Der Führer sagt, jetzt kommt der letzte Winter. Nur jetzt nicht schlapp gemacht, ihr müsst marschieren. Der Führer fährt voran im 12-Zylinder. Marsch, 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 ihr dürft die Fühlung nicht verlieren. Es ist ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche. Man soll's nicht glauben, wie sich das zieht. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, von der aus man den Silberstreifen sieht. Der Führer sagt, nur nicht in Lumpen laufen, er hat's ja schon gesagt, der Industrie. Wir wollen neue Uniformen kaufen, der Hauptmann Röhm liebt uns nicht ohne die. Es ist ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche, ein bisschen Liebe macht ihn halb so schwer. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, und kameradschaftlich sei der Verkehr. Der Führer hat gesagt, er lebt noch lange und er wird älter als der Hindenburg. Er kommt noch dran, da ist ihm gar nicht bange und drum pressiert's ihm gar nicht. Und dadurch ist es ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche. Es ist unglaublich, wie sich das zieht. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, von der aus man den Silberstreifen sieht. Marsch ins Dritte Reich. Der Führer sagt, jetzt kommt der letzte Winter. Nur jetzt nicht schlapp gemacht, ihr müsst marschieren. Der Führer fährt voran im 12-Zylinder. Marsch, 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 ihr dürft die Fühlung nicht verlieren. Es ist ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche. Man soll's nicht glauben, wie sich das zieht. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, von der aus man den Silberstreifen sieht. Der Führer sagt, nur nicht in Lumpen laufen, er hat's ja schon gesagt, der Industrie. Wir wollen neue Uniformen kaufen, der Hauptmann Röhm liebt uns nicht ohne die. Es ist ein langer Weg zum Dritten Reiche, ein bisschen Liebe macht ihn halb so schwer. Es ist ein hoher Baum, die deutsche Eiche, und kameradschaftlich sei der Verkehr. Der Führer hat gesagt, er lebt noch lange und er wird älter als der Hindenburg. Er kommt noch dran, da ist ihm gar nicht bange und drum...
Stream back. So the song that actually was been playing, like in the Be Right Back thing in the, you know, the BRB screen. Like that, the son of that guy who sung that was, that song was basically a song about, like it's called, The March into the Third Reich, you know, like it was made in 1933, like a parody song of politics, you know,
Yeah.
like like that guy who sung this is what's called an Arbeitersänger, like a worker's singer. I mean, like a worker, like a working class proletariat kind of guy who has been working in cabaret and everything, and so they made this song about sort of funny aspects about like the NS, like the Nazi party and the sort of the movement, like before it actually came to power. So that's interesting. And the son of that guy, you know Prora, you know that resort on Rügen, that big resort.
Mm-hmm.
Like the son of that guy actually bought a part of that and now put like luxury apartments in there. I read about it recently. I thought it was kind of interesting because it has like it's very sensationalist pieces around that, like the Nazi colossus on Rügen is coming back to life or something, even though it's basically just a part of that block they're trying to renovate and put like apartments in there. It's not that big a deal, but they're just writing these sensationalist pieces around that. I think that's kind of a shame because I like that building, like the concept of it.
Oh, do they?
It was made as this like in this sort of this workers program for like for the NSDAP to actually live up to the socialist part of the name. So they built this worker resort. They wanted to build this huge worker resort for 20,000 people on Rügen, on the Baltic coast.
Yeah.
And they never got through with that. But I don't know. Just look up Prora, as a Prora, and I don't know. It's kind of like the concept of it, like the visual kind of look that's to it. It's not very. It's basically a wall that separates
of buildings.
Yeah, no, just a complete big, big conceptual building. That I don't like the visual concept of just separating the beach from the area behind it through this big wall of a building. I think that's not a very visually appealing type of concept, but I don't know, I like the building on itself. Like the way it was designed originally. How it was supposed to have these big round things in front of it. And I don't know what you call it. I have this actually on my computer as a screensaver. Like sort of something from Civ 5, Civilization 5.
Mm-hmm.
The concept art of that from that game actually as a screensaver, because I just really like the concept of this big 1930s sort of building with these rounded parts in front of it. It's not really Art Deco, but it's sort of this. I think it's part of this German movement. Sort of, I guess the name translates to the new way of building. You know what I mean? Like because as opposed to the the Wilhelmine era of building. They have these lot of simpler concept buildings that were what I talked about with you before about.
That's cool, super cool building. Sheesh, the roundness. Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, as I said, I don't like that it basically functions as a giant wall of buildings that separates the beach from the area behind it. It's not a very inviting concept, but
yeah.
But I think the building, just the look of the building, I think makes up for it.
True.
And I'm just glad that it got a fresh coat of paint, because it just, like, I read an article about it recently as well. Like, the people from the Bauhaus would fucking lick their fingers for something like this. If they got their hands on, like, the Bauhaus group, the big architectural movement, the school of thought, basically.
Yeah.
Like, they would have licked their fingers if they actually got this entirety as a building. Because that's what the guy, the son of the singer who sung that song on the BRB screen, did this. The son of the guy bought this thing, and he said that. And I just like the idea of something actually coming out of this building. That it's not just a ruin.
It's pretty neat.
Well, that was just an interesting fact, I thought.
That is pretty neat. I'll have to remember that. Bookmark that, that's kind of interesting.
Ah, very well. Mr. Cohen awaits your participation at his performance.
So who is this fellow Cohen? Some sort of underworld figure?
Worse. He's an artist.
Why does she even ask?
Cohen's muse is a
Like, she's asking now who Elizabeth is asking who Cohen is.
D in his head. End
Oh.
conversation.
Like,
That is a good question.
yeah, but she was supposed to be his disciple. Or was this like another
It's like-
timeline?
I don't know. I remember from reading about it, she's like his 5th disciple. In Bioshock Part 2, she mentioned she worked under him for a couple of months.
Yeah,
She sang
so-
that one song that...
Yeah, I know. I played it recently, but... So why is she asking who Cohen is?
Yeah, asking who Cohen is. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to ease the player into it, because it's obviously there's gameplay elements to introduce it. Though I imagine somebody played this for like, I don't know.
Be the conduit! Open yourselves to the music! To the spirit of the eternal!
Oh my god, I've been streaming this for an hour and 20 minutes. And I haven't even gotten to the main part of the game.
The actual part of the game.
Yeah.
Why do you fail in this fashion?
I think it's just... I think, apart from being being something that says something about us and the way we communicate, I think it also says something about like, what it actually means for Bioshock to have like a pre-Civil War era scene.
Mm-hmm.
Get them out of here! There shall be no failure!
Yeah, it's also nice to communicate live rather than have to wait 3 days to have this conversation between each other.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Name's DeRoom.
I like how Cohen actually has his beard painted on.
Painted on.
Yeah, he's like painted on his little mustache. And his eyebrows as well. You know that guy? You know the guy, I forgot what his name was. Like, Boy West Coast.
The work of the artist.
Mm-hmm. Trying to figure out.
You know what I mean? She was at the club, bottoms up. When I first met you, couldn't get enough. You know that guy?
Yeah.
I love how like he was made fun of for having his eyebrows drawn on, but nobody ever mentioned that about Senator Cohen.
Watch this one, DeWitt. She'll take you where you don't
But then again, I think that's the least
I know the child.
that's the least important thing to mention about Cohen, right?
Yep, I suppose.
I know where the girl is. I will send you to her in exchange. All I ask is a dance.
What?
I see something in you two. Art strips away artifice. Show me who you are, and I will show you where you need to go.
Mr. DeWitt. Dance with me.
Come, dance. Come on, dance. Feel the music. Feel the music.
Actually, I kind of forgot how slow this intro is for this, before you actually get to the department store.
Oh my god, for a second I thought his arm was like cut off in sort of a thing. The
Oh, yeah.
Cohen's arm.
I'm ashamed of you. Come on.
I like the flavor text. Or like the flavor dialogue they always put in. And they like expect you to do something and then just
Stand there.
yeah. Really from that angle it looks like part of his arm sort of clipped off and like
Oh, yeah.
like a visual like a visual weird effect, but then you just look at it and oh yeah.
Yeah. It's an optical illusion.
Mm.
Did Cohen ever have paintings in the original Bioshock, or did he just do his plastered mannequins?
Yeah, he never actually had any artworks other than
Huh.
like weird performance art.
They can be no more separated than birth and blood.
What do you think Cohen's customers do with the children? Do they?
Sometimes.
Oh my god.
But those types lack the capital of people like Ryan and Sucho.
That's a blessing.
You saw those little sisters? You so sure? But if Su Chong had Sally, I'd know it.
How?
As I tied him to a chair and asked him
So?
for 15 hours.
I don't know what to make of you, Mr. DeWitt.
I can't remember because I've never actually picked the cage thing. But does that actually carry over from the other Bioshock, or is that preset that she has that bird pendant?
Mm-mm.
I have to look that up on the wiki because I'm actually curious about that. That actually carries over from the main game, or if that's
Nah,
just a preset
no.
asset.
Preset. You know how fucking you know like in Telltale games where they have like where what you do actually doesn't matter. I think that's just here.
It's just there, an illusion, yeah.
Yeah, basically I think if you don't do it, she has it here, and you could like interpret this as like she freeing herself or she being like from a different timeline than yours from what you picked.
Mr. DeWitt. Mr. DeWitt. Are you alright?
Fine.
Like I mean the whole bird cage thing was so fucking obvious.
I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Pain and beauty. To an artist, they are parent and child.
Cohen?
I'm sending you to find your young one. No need to thank me. I'm not so sure you'll like what you find.
Look,
Fontaine's. Ryan said the whole thing was live.
there's a prison now. Why would Cohen have sent Sally there?
I don't know.
Everyone has needs. I merely provide a service for those who have the means to pay. find your little bird in the housewares department.
How many people do you suppose Ryan's got locked up in that place?
Enough. Fontaine had amassed something near an army. Now they're down there, spliced up and wild. Alright, there's a dock up ahead.
Takes a cold son of a bitch.
I like that scene where they actually have like mannequins floating in the water to make you think that they're actually, you know, dead.
Bodies.
Yeah. That actually fooled me the first time I played this.
That pretty lighting again at work.
Yeah.
Seem to be some supplies this way, Mr. DeWitt.
It's Booker.
What?
Just call me Booker.
It's all the same to you,
Corroborative intensifiers.
Mr. DeWitt.
What I also always liked about Bioshock 1 was, no, about this DLC, sorry, really is the civilian. Like sometimes, you know, I told with you about earlier, about how the plasmids, are they supposed to have these pretend civilian applications?
Mm-hmm.
I love what, like, with the whole radar range thing. You know, the whole
microwave thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really understand why they would immediately go for like a handheld device instead of like a box. I mean, that would be like using a flamethrower instead of an oven.
Oh. Well, you gotta get a cool gun that you used about 2 times before the DLC's over, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, I guess that's their way to cram in a gun, which I don't know if that feels more natural than what Minerva's Den did, where you just give you an ion beam.
Yeah.
Rather than having to come up with a gimmick of saying, this is why this exists.
Oh shit! Right. I wanted this to be like a companion to the whole like previous stream I did. But I haven't even fucking mentioned any of the comparisons. I haven't even compared this to Bioshock 2 at all, because it's just so much more interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Mr. DeWitt, someone's coming.
What do you feel about the pneumo tube thing that you just got? Because I'm looking at your stream and I just now noticed that. So how do you feel about that? That was influenced in this game and they legally abandoned it in the next one. Well, besides you have to jump on ledges, but.
Oh, you mean that? I mean, how basically,
like, you know, like the idea of you riding the pneumo lines or whatever the hell they call it.
Oh, do you mean how they basically just crammed in that element from Bioshock Infinite?
Yep.
Yeah. Pfft. I think it's a weird retcon.
Housewares. That's where Cohen said we'd find Sally. The store ran trams between the 3 buildings. We'll need to avail ourselves of that.
Assuming it still works.
Optimism, Mr. DeWitt. It helps in situations like this.
Like low key, I actually want to know how these are powered. Like these individual parts of the department store. Because the lights are still shining, and even in the other bits. Like how actually?
Because yeah, it makes sense because everything in Rapture is powered by the thermal energy.
Yeah,
so
by the main.
That's a good question.
Like the main grid.
Yeah.
But why would they not like cut off everything? And also you have these problems where like these seahorse thingies are basically just somewhere in the ground or somewhere hanging from somewhere.
Yeah.
Dude, these things are moving when you just look at this window. Like you see these things
Yeah,
actually
just
go
floating.
up. Yeah, going up and down. It's weird.
Yeah.
And then you see how they were supposed to look, and you're just like, how the fuck? Like down there, it has like weird chains, but
Yeah.
nowhere else. And remember, he sunk this entire thing.
Below the trench or whatever the hell they called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still weird because I when I read the book, whatever the the book Fall of Rapture, whatever, I can't remember, was it because I know that's not retcon. I guess they retconned it out because even though Ken Levine had a somewhat hand in writing it or with whatever. What did they say in the book? Wasn't it more like we just dropped him somewhere after the shootout at the fisheries
Yeah.
when they supposedly killed Fontaine?
Yeah. Once again, this is more like a really the textbook definition of what a retcon actually is. Like retroactive continuity. It's not really a revision or whatever, just retroactive continuity.
Yeah. Of course, you could just pull the magic wand of it's another timeline, I
When did you
suppose.
come to Rapture?
Yeah. But remember, it was actually, it's part of the main quest of the main story of Bioshock 1 that Fontaine faked his death.
Yeah.
So I think it actually ties in nicely into Bioshock 1. Like that is basically just Atlas, like Fontaine's Atlas personality that's here.
Mm-hmm.
You look a mess, Mr. DeWitt.
Keep your eyes open for splicers. They can do us a whole lot worse.
I'm still kind of bummed out for that Easter egg in Burial at Sea or whatever, that if you go back and you find all the hidden clues, that you can find Fontaine's dressing room where he hid himself as Atlas and the character never brings it up.
Yeah, I know what you were going to say when you said Fontaine's dressing room.
Yeah. It's like, she's like, son of a bitch, I knew it, or something like that. And
Yeah.
it never brings it up again.
I love how like you can't actually do sneaky shit in the DLC. I think they just handed me a shotgun, but I haven't gotten a new shotgun.
There's the tram.
That splicer had no problem freezing a path for himself before.
I'm sure he'll be happy to do the same for us.
I have no doubt you'll prove persuasive. Mr. DeWitt. An ice rink.
Be good at places any to look for our new friend.
Says it's on the top floor.
So we go.
You know what's kind of shit about tying the whole multi-universe thing to Bioshock 1?
The what?
You know what's kind of shit about tying this whole multiverse shit from Bioshock Infinite into Bioshock 1? It's the fact that you could pull it basically out of your ass whether or not this is the actual Bioshock from the original game. Like, it wouldn't matter either way. Because you have a million of
So there's
them.
millions of...
Yeah.
So that's kind of a good question, because, if she chased the last Comstock to this area, and
Yeah, I have that
does
in
that
my...
mean is this the only one that the revolution happens in, the Civil War, since she breaks him out and this is the only universe that she's in?
Huh? What? I don't know what you mean.
Like, because she said this is the last universe that Comstock went to. So does that mean this is the only universe that the Rapture Civil War happens in?
Another burst of particle.
Stores a few hundred feet.
Because without her in part 2, she would have not pulled the particle cell or whatever to raise the department store out of the trench, the end of the Civil War and stuff like that. So is this the only universe that first one happens in?
I don't know, maybe that was the intention, but it all got kind of buried.
Yeah.
You know how I wrote all this down about Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite? Like, as a sort of what I called a script, but it's not actually really a script, it's more of a kind of what I think. Oh shit, I'm streaming this, right. I wrote something, it might become a script later, guys.
Damn thing's locked.
Let me see that.
So yeah, you remember when I just...
Turn this with a
I'm not gonna include any of this here, what we said, because it's just like either it's visible, either you can sort of extrapolate it, or it's kind of your own thoughts. But I don't know if it's worth mentioning, like what we think could be the case, you know, like that. You know, because then we're straying into the realm of game theory and shit.
Yep. This is just game theory.
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory.
Or worse yet, do like what we were talking about Red Dead. Hey, let's stretch out this 30-second thing into a 10-minute video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yep. Game theory and stretching out content is the worst, I guess.
Like, I had like, sorry, I have to pause the comment a bit. Like, I had this weird thing, you know how sometimes in your recommended section you have this weird game theory videos that you have no fucking idea what they mean? You know where it's just
thumbnail with
yeah, and you have no idea what the fuck is even going on, what the fuck he's talking about, and like, could this thing say Fortnite or something? Like, could eating a banana say Fortnite or something like this? I saw this weird thumbnail on it, and it's just like, when did game theory suddenly still become, like, why is game theory still getting millions of views but nobody's actually watching it? Actually, I know that question. I know the answer to that question, don't we? You say it.
Yep.
You say it.
Getting millions of views or millions of things, but no one's watching. It's probably should probably get a certain amount of audience. They're like, I'm just gonna watch for this thing. They don't watch for anything else.
No,
I completely bypass what we were just talking about. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say that he has a bunch of children watching his content.
Oh yeah.
They aren't in the conversation, so shit.
Yep. Nothing's worse than being a channel known for one thing, and then as soon as you try to branch out, nobody watches it.
I mean, his name actually is like game theory. Like, he can't do anything else. Like, you made a channel called MadPat, he would still be the game theory guy.
Yep. What you're known for.
I mean, he doesn't really have a personality to speak of, does he? He just has, hey guys, look at this thing. Look, I'm this sciencey person. But I'm not actually science. I'm like, he's more of a fucking. At this point, he's more of a like a fan fiction writer than anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I want to
product of your own design.
Something I've always wanted to do, like, for the last year or so, is like write something together, but on game theory. But I just can't. Because basically all it turns out, all I fucking like, I could pull this out. I could put some sources. I could like compare videos. But basically now he's just basically writing fan fiction. But what originally drew me personally to game theory was like the real life science element. Like, you'd get some element of real life, like, facts and everything from the videos, but now you just don't, and it's total garbage. You know what I mean? Because from what I've seen, you don't get that anymore. You get just like weird random niche shit from like Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, that sort of type of deal.
Milking that franchise.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's just it's kind of really niche, like, sort of like the Purple Man, and then you have like the Golden Freddy and like the Spring Trap. Spring Trap is, by the way, still a beautiful fucking name. Like I know just the concept of a spring trap, like spring is in the season. Like, what would that look like? Just a trap that's only open for one season. Like, I always try to hear these. Like, you probably don't get this because your English is your native language, but when you hear these words together, you just like, it's literally, you hear the word spring, you know, like you know, a spring, like mechanical part, and you have like. When you think about like the other meaning of it, because, you know, in German you don't have these words that have multiple meanings. Like, you have obviously have like things that have different meanings, but usually they have something attached to it to clarify it to that word. So they have something attached. But when you have the name Spring Trap, they get funny ideas. Like Spring Trap. How can we milk this? How can I personally milk this word? Spring Trap. Like someone who's just pretending to be a transsexual for a season. You know what I mean? Like a spring trap, because spring traps are gay. Like, it's just really funny to me doing this. I don't know if anyone else thinks it's funny, but I think it's really funny. Bong. Fuck, 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 fuck. Come on, come on. To me, that's kind of the fun of the English language. It's literally milking words.
Yep, there's only so much word you can come out in your own language, so you gotta steal them from somebody else. How it works.
You know what's really weird about like Japanese, like modern Japanese? It's so weird because you hear like this overwhelming amount of anglicisms. You have these English words in Japan. It just sounds so weird. Like they don't have a word for cake. They don't have a word for cake in Japanese. So they literally say cake. So it's just really weird when you think about it. Like did they not have like in German? I know this. Like there are more English words creeping in and in and in. Like right now, you had so many English words like in the common vocabulary, and that's weird. So I'm wondering if that's just something that happened to Japan earlier. Like they used to have their own word for cake, but now they're just using like an English word, and the other word was totally outdated. Or it's literally that the concept of a cake like got introduced to their country.
Different from their definition.
No, it's just weird because the language, like words come from somewhere. Like, did they not have cake before the Meiji Restoration and shit?
Yeah, well, from what I remember, I'm not too familiar with the Japanese language, even though a few things, because obviously, you know, it was borrowed from China and stuff like that from like thousands of years ago or whatever, and how it gradually became its own thing. So, and the words got changed, and then, you know, as you say, based off when they were closed off when they opened up to the Western world or whatever in the 1850s or whatever, 60s, and then how gradually certain words came in, and it's kind of hard to tell. Also, too, it just depends if the person just wants to use another word for, just use the English word for cake word because it sounds cool.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing that's happening in German right now. That's really annoying.
Or because it's easier to say than compared to like, you know, using their word or something like that. It just varies. I guess depends on context.
It's like a fashion thing for Germany now. But to me, it's just kind of frustrating.
You know, it's a weird detail because you're talking about, you know, people coming and changing your words. When I was down in Arizona recently, we went to this lake. It's called Lake Pleasant, which is basically a giant artificial lake that they built in the 30s or whatever. So they go to this area and they talk about the history of the the area of like, this is what the area is like. And there's an interesting thing on the plaque talking about the history that kind of made me put pause. With like, wow, this is either poorly written or it's just they're ignorant. And they're talking about before the Americans came, the so-called Indians lived here.
Oh, like, dude! I have this weird like I saw this weird Disney cartoon like about the Grand Canyon. Like Donald Duck takes a trip to the Grand Canyon. Like there's a mountain lion in there, so it's kind of funny. But they say don't disturb the Americans. Like white Anglo settler talks about the Native Americans like that, and I paused and had a laugh. Just don't disturb the Americans. Just don't disturb the Americans. It's just so weird. You know, it's kind of like you know when Joseph Joestar just says I hate the Japanese in Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of the vibes. Yes, that was a good reference.
Yeah, when I was listening to your Bioshock 2 stream, I was laughing as soon as you mentioned a JoJo reference. Like, yep, you're already in there. When you start referencing that.
I still don't know if Part 4 is worth watching.
It's entertaining, you know. The series changes, so if you want to give it a go, it's all based off of preference.
Yeah.
If you're satisfied where the thing ended, you know, you don't have to watch it.
Yeah. It's weird how we have this excuse of, like, genetics to have just ghosts just inhabiting our machines. You know what? Like possession, you know that plasmid?
Oh yeah, possession?
Yeah, I was just literally just a ghost.
Ghost?
Yeah, ghost possessing, a ghost possessing this machine, yeah. And also
That's
another.
probably just left over. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just weird. So another thing about the turret. Sorry if I digress now. Is that it literally is just an armchair, like an office chair, with a machine gun on it. I love that.
Office chair with a big gun on it.
Yeah, I think it's an M1919 machine gun. I could be wrong. Because I like firearms. I'm gonna look this up now.
You know what's weird? Because you mentioned that's a machine gun. I'm surprised you didn't just pull that off and use that as your machine gun in Bioshock 2 rather than their like the gun you use.
Yeah.
Since those seem to be commonly available.
It is actually an M1919 Browning machine gun. It's a 30 cal, actually. So that's interesting. But it has this huge bipod, and it's just literally mounted on an armchair. Not an armchair, a desk chair. I love that. I just love this. Like I love like it's so pointless pointing out like what like reviewers like. I remember Yahtzee Crow show. You know Zero Punctuation, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
When he originally talked about Bioshock, he said that it was like steam powered turrets because he said like Bioshock was like steampunk, even though it's dieselpunk or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Dieselpunk.
Yeah, how it's basically a steam powered turret, and I don't know where he sees a steam powered turret in a desk chair with a machine gun pointed on it.
I think it was just a vague term to describe that it has a very rustic aesthetic to it.
Yeah,
I guess.
obviously, but it's just kind of weird how you just have this turret. Like you just see this turret, and I don't know. I just don't think that's very observant. I just think the concept itself is funny enough to be mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you literally have just a small, tiny wheel on the side of it as well. That's
To rotate it.
Yeah, it's so cute.
That'll do.
That'll do, Piggy. That'll do. Although, dude, this Tommy gun with all the decals on it, like all the like the gold-plated elements, I love that.
All the engravings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's one thing that came from Bioshock Infinite is the metal textures. I think that's some of my favorite textures in games.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks
The lighting on all those things.
good. Yeah.
What's happened to these people? They don't even seem sane.
Nothing beats your first splice. From there, it's all downhill. The frozen frosties, the jockeys will hand you 1,000 volts as soon as they look at you.
You sound sympathetic.
I'm just so surprised that the amount of effort they went into like modeling. I'm surprised they didn't give you back a Wimberley again, just for as your pistol instead of using the hand cannons. I guess that would have been too much to model it.
Oh, you mean that you get a revolver?
Yeah, the
it's
revolver from Bioshock 1.
the revolver from Bioshock 1. Is it actually the same one?
No, it's the hand cannon, but they just retextured it. Like I'm surprised they just didn't.
Oh
give you
right,
Wimberley.
right. The Wembley from the original. Right. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, which my friend actually owns one, and those things are freaking huge.
Yeah.
It's like just you feel the weight, and then he was telling me what these little things on the there's these like they almost look like an arrow where the chamber's at, and he was telling me that that's there so it could hold a bayonet.
Oh. Wow. If that's true, then.
Be able to pop it open with
A jolt of shock jockey?
you. Familiar with shock jockey?
More than you could know.
Let's look around. Maybe there's a store ain't been ransacked by splicers yet.
I still love for the old revolver in Bioshock 1. I still find it funny that for the first one you get, which was in that baby's crib, they purposely made it gigantic so the player wouldn't miss it.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Although the scene is just brilliant. The scene is actually just brilliant with the revolver.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw like video game rip-offs in movies, like movies that rip off video games. Like an article on it, and it actually, like, there's this weird movie that has elements from Bioshock in it, and I think the revolver in the crypt was actually one. It's just that good.
Yeah.
I don't think though, like, I remember first playing Bioshock or Bioshock 2, and I thought, yeah, wow, I wish we actually got a Bioshock movie, but now it just doesn't feel right, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple movies close to it. You either got City of Lost Children, which looks like Bioshock beyond all reasons, and then you got Snowpiercer and a couple other movies, and then I guess you got The Cure for Wellness, which is done by the guy who was supposed to do Bioshock movie.
Yeah, but you know the way Bioshock handles its themes and everything.
Yeah, it's not designed for a movie. It's,
No,
it's designed to be played.
Yeah.
Or you mean?
I mean, it's so
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's so retarded when you think about it. Like, it's actually retarded when you think about it, because what people liked about the special kind of movie Hollywood retarded, you know that, where they just try to wring like the movie potential out of it. Yeah, despite how it just doesn't lend itself to it, and Bioshock just. One of the main things that people liked about Bioshock was, the whole twist of, like, you play this and, like, it parallels, like, the things that the guy says is actually, like, how you're actually experiencing the game. Yeah, that's one of the main, that's one of the big points that people still point to Bioshock to. And you cannot have that in a movie. Yeah, you cannot rewrite that concept into a movie.
Otherwise, you have to do it. Otherwise, everybody will expect it coming.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, that's what I remember way back in the day when they were talking about, like, when Bioshock 2 was in development. Everyone's like, "Is it going to be a prequel? Because what the hell did you do after that? Because the game written up was tied up so quick, was tied up with a bow in the original Bioshock. That's why for the longest time before Bioshock 2 came out, I was like, is it going to be a prequel during the Civil War or something like that?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, how the hell do you recapture that? So everyone's like, oh, you're just gonna do a prequel or something.
Yeah.
Which I guess in a way that's what we got with Burial at Sea. We got a prequel, so
yeah,
ties up everything. Yeah. Which is so weird, as you were talking about the pistol, it's so funny. Ever since I had my friend that has buys guns all the time, he was telling me, it's like, yeah, you just do that because it's stylish in a movie, but in reality, you would never want to flick the gun like that because it can ruin the frame.
Yeah.
It just looks cool. Same thing for spinning the thing. That's a good way to mess up your gun if you just spin it like a jackass. And he's just telling me all these things about you do in movies, how you would never do in real life because they're terrible, and you're more likely to shoot yourself if you do it.
I love having a little pet American. I'm just buying guns and shit, and you know what?
Yeah,
I know how I've told you about how I've been buying guns.
Yeah.
It's really cute. It's really cute.
Yeah, it's like, it's like a little hobby. I got a couple ones.
Yeah.
This one can do this. This one can do that. It's in season. It's super cute.
Yeah.
I know. It's funny too, because with my friend, he always sends me pictures, and I'm be talking to him. He sends me pictures like, Taylor's like, hey, check out what I got. And he sends me a picture of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's American,
Yeah. That reminds me of something about streams. You know how they always try to like extrapolate some meaning out of like certain scenes, and when popular people stream, and they're like trying to make a case for like they have some kind of mental disorder, and they just point something that they said on a stream. Like it completely disregards the situation, right?
Yeah.
Because what I just thought about right now, if someone pulled that clip of me just saying I love having my little pet American, like they'd probably say something about how I have questionable moral values and shit, or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Despite it's kind of really funny to see this, but then again, it just depends on how like thirsty. Some people. It's just dependent on how thirsty some people are for a headline.
Mm-hmm.
Or like for a game theory, for a real life game theory. Is this guy a psychopath?
Is he crazy? Find out next week on my stream or my 2-part video. I don't know.
Yeah. Is Jake Paul secretly a sociopath? Like, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like we know he's doing shitty shit, but who cares? Who cares he's doing shitty shit? That's all I really need to know. Yeah, unless it's like a solid, like an interesting tidbit, like, you know how people say like Stanley Kubrick has been like supposedly had autism or something. There's an interesting tidbit.
Because he was very particular about details.
Yeah,
sounds like a lot of
that's just kind of an interesting tidbit. This is something interesting to keep in mind. But you know, when people do shady shit on YouTube, something that's already so unfiltered, you don't really get that shock, right? Because people like Stanley Kubrick, when you say something like that, you just say, oh, that's kind of interesting. That explains a lot of things. But with YouTube, you just say, oh yeah, he's doing shady shit. Like, he's on camera. He's doing things. Mm-hmm. I was basically just putting a name to it. Like, the only, like, at least my personal situation with, like, these mental things, I'm not going to call them diseases, this mental, this atypical mental patterns or something. You know, fancy term like that. Like, the only person I'd actually think benefits from knowing these words, you know, knowing these specific terms for it, really is the person who's afflicted by them, was afflicted with them. You know? Mm-hmm. Because you can't really do anything about someone who is a sociopath when you're like watching from, I don't know, the UK, watching a Jake Paul video from the UK, right? Mm-hmm. Like people would say something about how we live in a global society now, but we really aren't. We're still sort of bound by
physical location.
Yeah, by physical locations.
Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the exchange of information, yes, but that's really only half the picture, right? Mm-hmm. Because information means nothing unless you can actually influence the person who's receiving them. But it's much easier through like real life propaganda posters rather than you know, something like a banner ad you see on the internet. Like unless you actually withhold information, that's something you can do. But otherwise, no. You know, like how they would do something like this in China, where they like withhold information about Tiananmen Square and everything. Like that's something. That's another. Sorry, I'm just gonna pull out another interesting German word. Meinungsmacher, literally opinion making. That's literally like opinion making, front and center. That's something. They really, I think in the modern internet age, you can't really influence people like you could, like with propaganda, because we just have so much information, and instead of feeding people information, you can really only limit people's information. Because
information overload to a lot of people.
Because you have so many information, so many outlets, so many opinions that you can really only like fishnet the opinions that you don't like out. Like, or
it's easy, it's a good way to look at it. You can filter out stuff you don't like, therefore
although that's
putting yourself in your own little world.
Yeah, other people in your own little world, or kind of not really your own little world, because that's something people always talk about with like Nazi propaganda. Like Goebbels didn't outright like shut down newspapers. He just basically just put people in charge of who just cut out, who just basically remove or discourage people from not opinions, but from publishing pieces in a certain way. And not just saying like we are great, we are great, we are great, or our values. That's something that was actually very unique to the propaganda machine of the NSDAP. There's an interesting example. They used to have movies, like I told you about these movies that were done during the early years of the NSDAP. That was basically like chronicling like their rise. You know about Horst Wessel, like the Nazi martyr. Then there's another one called Hitler Junge Quecks, which was about a Hitler youth and everything. And these movies were super obvious. They had like people dying, people dying for our cause, and like these really obvious things. And Goebbels hated them. Like Goebbels actually disliked them because they were so obvious. Because people could look through them so easily. And that's kind of what's more dangerous about sort of Nazi propaganda, much more than anything else.
It's interesting how a lot of that stuff is, yeah, as you mentioned, and how, what information was available based off what location you were in, what time period, and like the idea of where you had to go information. Because back then you either got it from a publication, or you got it from radio, or you got it from a movie. Now you got a billion different places you can get it from, and how that can easily influence you.
Yeah.
Not easily influence you, but how that can distort how you view things. And then I remember too, reading a couple articles. They were talking about, back when a lot of mass shootings were a big thing here, and they're talking about how that affects a person's mind psychology. Because when you're hearing about something that happened halfway across the country, and the way everyone treats it as if it happened down the street. So they're talking about how you could be not easily influenced, but the idea of, because we're not so unconnected, but you have access to stuff that's happening halfway across the world or halfway across the country, but it can seem as if it's happening down the street, and how that could affect you psychologically.
Yeah.
I forgot, where are you in the department anyways? Are you still in the early section?
I'm before the whole tram part. And before we go into the tram. Yeah.
Oh.
To be honest, this is the most fun I've ever had on a stream. Like doing one.
Because you've got that feedback, so you can kind of get going on certain subjects. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I think we should really repeat this, like, in the future. Maybe
sounds...
like, I think something with this stream is that it's not, like, it's something that we've been talking about here, but that's not right now currently popular. That's why not many people are watching. I don't think anyone has actually been watching, but I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're enjoying and like making content nobody sees. It's not the end of the world. Like shit, I draw stuff all the time that nobody really sees, but I like it. So as long as I'm happy with it, it doesn't matter if nobody sees it. So if you do what you like to do, there's no problem with that.
Yeah, but it is kind of just interesting stuff that you make. I hope people actually will see it because it's now interesting. Because the other thing wasn't as interesting, I think.
Yeah. Kind of have that chemistry of bouncing off back and forth on subjects.
By the way, this is his
By
the way, this is his DeviantArt page. Go follow him if you watch DeviantArt. He does some interesting shit. You see? Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I suppose it's like calibrating a magnet, you know what I mean? Like sure you can have you can send things out with the wrong like frequency or whatever. And you can still have people watching it, but it's really retaining that attachment that it's all about, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm really glad that you're enjoying your streams. I know I watched a lot of your streams, and you kind of like, you know, you got need something to bounce off. So I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. That's kind of giving me some energy for it. And like I said, if you ever want to do this in the future, it doesn't bother me because I'm doing jack shit till I go to work. So. So and as we were talking earlier, you know, one of the biggest things is freaking time zones because you're 7 hours ahead of me. So.
Yeah.
So if we can get a good thing working, it's fine by me.
Oh, right, I forgot. You can actually, like, use the rail. Ah, shit. You can actually use the rails to go into a different section of the department store. I totally neglected that.
Yeah. All those freaking speed lines going on the screen when you're jumping from lines to lines.
The lines. Oh, fuck. It's another interesting thing. There's another interesting thing that I've been sort of learning about. It's the thing they call ley lines. You know what I mean?
What is that?
It's some mystical bullshit that like arose from, if I got that correctly, from basically people making up lines based on English towns. Like they used to connect dots on a map, apparently, of towns in England that ended with ley. You know what I mean? Like Langley or something like that. Which is they used up some sort of mysticism, and people, like, you know, the whole Wicca thing, the whole modern witch type of deal they did once in The Simpsons. You know that I've heard is kind of based off of that, or in part based off of that. Well, that's like an element.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially interesting when you consider, like, I've had a map, like, laid out in front of me of my home region, you know, the home region around my town. It's really interesting. They actually, like, had a line, like a legend, you know what I mean? A legend they have next to maps. Yeah, I don't know if it's actually called a legend in English as well.
I think that's what it's called, where a map that displays certain information on it. I think that's what it's usually called.
Yeah, the little box on the side there. Yeah. They actually had like a bunch of dots about little towns and villages, and then some of the points were actually like the endings of those names, like Ingen, Bach, something like that, you know. So it's just a weird concept that people would actually make, because this is so numerous. That's so common because it's, you know, a quirk of language that people will actually read more into it. Like I mean, it's not like something that's complex or anything. It's literally just something we as a human species made up. Literally language. Literally just language. Not even town names or some deeper meaning behind it. Literally just the way we talk. That people will interpret something else into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of weird. A lot of folks like overread that, and sometimes, I don't know, I've always heard that sometimes it's just a name. You know, like when I was going through Arizona recently, and there's a lot of town names. Some of these towns have some stupid ass names, but at the same time, there's names even for rivers, or like Jackfoot River, or like something river. Like, you know, there's only so much you can name a river of something. So there's only, you know, of course, stuff's gonna start correlating because, you know, there's only so much you can name a town. Like we got a lot of towns in, you know, in the Southwest called Berg, like, you know, like Wintersburg, Harrisburg, and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's only so much you can name stuff.
Yeah. Like, are Americans actually aware that it actually just means castle in German?
Probably, but at the same time, that's how Americans are. We just like to name something because it sounds good, or we just named it that. Because, you know, we got a lot of places.
Yeah.
It depends which part of the country you're into. Of like, you know, like this means this in Spanish, or this means this in French, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people just don't know it.
Yeah, but then again, it's also something in English as well. Like, like that's just something I'm always confused about. How do people actually know in English? Like, do they have a deeper meaning to it, to the just ending berg, like Burg? You know what I mean?
I don't think the average person will know unless they look it up or unless they know German. But I think the average person is not going to really know.
No, it's not just that it's German. It's just that it's a thing in England as well. That's like, a thing of the English language that do people know that it has a deeper meaning in English, or does it actually has a meaning in English, and not it's just like a name like Polis or something, like a suffix to a name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because in German we have like these the endung Bach, for example. I mentioned this before. That literally just means brook. Like you have this, like you literally just have
It sounds like it has a deep meaning, but it literally just means brook.
Yeah, or Au, like Dachau, like Braunau. That literally means just Au. Au is literally just a green field.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just weird that you have, like, in English, lay was apparently also like for an opening, something like a quirk of nature. So I don't know why people would read too deeply into like ley lines, like the literal placement of ley, like towns with the name Ley.
Yeah. I'd imagine it's just humans like order and they like patterns and stuff like that, because it's like the idea of how humans can easily recognize a face because we're so used to it, and you can look at an object and how it reminds you of a face because you're so hardwired to program patterns.
Yeah.
That could just be a human thing.
Yeah. But then again, it's just figuring out those patterns that I think is also very human. So to me, that conflicts a bit.
Yeah. And same thing too, because as you mentioned, like this means brook and stuff like that. That's another thing too, because you have a lot of like German words, French words. We also have a lot of Native American words that just means brook or like that river over there. So it depends which part of the country. So you'll be in a place that's called like Minnehaha County or something like that, and it means something else, but it just means something so It's like a very general term from the language it came from.
That's really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really that you don't it's weird that you don't translate it as well. Like.
Yeah, and then also too, because I guess it just depends who you are, but because it's just the way I guess also maybe Americans is a lot of the stuff that we use, we call like for Native American tribes is, if you were to actually translate it, that means like a racial slur. So like a lot of Native American tribes, stuff like that, it comes off what the English called them and like the settlers called them, and generally it's an offensive term. So it's a lot of these tribes, so it's like calling somebody a bad name, and it's just so weird, but because of the way the language is and how stubborn people can be, it's like you call somebody this, but it's a super offensive word in another language.
Yeah. The thing is, what I think is weird, that, like, once again, like me as a European, as someone who likes to make fun of Americans, would just basically like look at Americans not translating names and instead just taking the funny haha Native American thing. It's kind of a lazy, ignorant thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just thinking of European things, like like Alsace-Lorraine, where you have like two different meanings, like where you have two different names for towns, like in both a German and an English name, or French name in this case. Like another where you literally have the Strasbourg and Strasbourg. Yep, Strasbourg. Something like that. And literally just has sort of a same origin. But it means something in both languages, and that's just weird. Or you just make up something that's kind of sounds, or something that kind of sounds like it. Like that's something I think a lot of people used to do in the East, like where they literally just changed some suffixes, like Polish suffixes or Slavic suffixes into German names, like into I don't know, like we have like trying to think of an example, like love, L-A-V, something Slav, or that comes from Slav, like a Slavic village. They're like at the end of a town name. And how do you basically just change that to Lau, like Breslau, or something like that, Birkenau, something like that. So I don't know why Americans don't do this. This is just really weird.
Well, generally, what we do is if it's named something, we just bastardize the way it sounds.
Oh yeah, right.
What we do is our state capital is it's spelled Pierre, but everyone calls it Pure. Or like when I was in Prescott, a lot of people either say Prescott or Prescott. Or like also people just can't say things like, you get people that's like they call it Galapago, which is just saying instead of saying Galapagos.
Yeah.
Or you get people that say Yosemite instead of saying Yasm, or instead of saying Yosemite you say Yasmite, and just weird way we bastardize our words. So.
I think that's another thing Americans do right. Like Snickerdoodle. You have this weird thing that's not actually related to Snickers in any way.
Mm-hmm.
That basically came from a German word called Schneckennudel, which literally means like snail noodle. It's not actually a noodle; it's more of a baked thing. But the Americans just sort of made it that way, and it just sounds really weird in the modern context of a Snickers. Of a Snickers.
Mm. Yeah, and ever since you did your Brutal Legend video, I always say that now. Where you say Brutal Legend.
Ach, Brutal Legend. Brutal.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's so weird. Or I think in the game he actually said it one time, like, we're gonna be called Motorhead with an E at the end, so we know it means business. And honestly, I just can't help myself but pronounce the E at the end. At the E of words where it just doesn't belong. Or like or how you have Pittsburgh. I always want to pronounce it Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like like Edinburgh in Scotland. I don't know how that comes about even, but it just sounds funnier when you say it the way people don't want you to say it, but it's totally how the same pattern is in a different part of the world, like even a different part of like the English speaking world. They are so weird. Like, how does even an H at the end of Burg or Berg produce an ra sound? How does that pronounce how does that make it from Berg to Bura? Like Bura. Just imagine like if Barack Obama's name was literally just Bara, and then like Bar, and then you have an H at the end, so it just becomes Bara. Like literally BA, and then you have an H at the end, and so it becomes Bara. Just imagine that.
Yeah.
Just imagine BAH, then it becomes Bara. Ah, shit, fuck, right. I forgot in this DLC, like, they haven't introduced the weapon wheel yet. You know what?
That's what everybody complained about in Infinite. You only get 2 weapons. What is this, the mid-2000s?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that was actually the late 2000s where that became a thing.
Yeah.
But,
Halo started it with the stupid 2-weapon limit.
Yeah, but that actually made sense for consoles.
Yeah, it made sense for consoles, but it's like, I don't know why they put it in. So yeah, I'm glad they put the weapon wheel, even though you get to use the weapons for like a good 30 minutes for the DLC's over.
Yeah, but like, it's weird because the weapon wheel makes no sense not to have it in the other one, but not in this one.
Which one? The...
Like this DLC that I'm playing right now, Buiral, let's see part 1. Oh, you don't have I don't have the weapon wheel here.
Yeah. Huh.
I thought you had the weapon wheel here already.
Oh.
You don't.
You got more than 2 guns, so I'd imagine it would have it unless I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense that because I mean you have something like the radar range, you know, which is like this cool new gun. But like they don't use it in a way that makes sense by, you know, using the weapon wheel. What should I do? Should I... Yeah, I've just found an infusion. Should I take Eve, shield, or health?
Shield feels pointless to have.
Yeah, it really
so just
is.
take health.
Yeah, okay.
Or I guess if you want to take Eve, you're constantly running out of Eve, might as well just upgrade your Eve.
Thanks. I already picked health now.
Oh, well, health is actually pretty good. Like I said, the shield is so pointless in this game. I don't know why
Yeah.
they put it in there.
Yeah.
It's only good for like one hit and you're instantly in your red. In the red.
Hmm. Ah.
Eve, Mr. DeWitt. Catch! Not getting your way.
Did you watch Infinity War and Endgame?
I saw both when I was in Arizona visiting. So, did you or did you just just read the wikis?
No, I've actually seen neither, and I don't really care. Like the only
They're alright. They're movies. I don't consider them good. I just consider them something you watch.
Yeah.
So
It's just that I don't know. It's just I really, if I'm honest, I stopped caring about the whole Avengers thing. Like I only watched the first Captain America movie, and then I kind of stopped because I don't know. I just kind of like the feel of this typical American World War II drama just redone like in the 2000s.
Redone almost like an old serial.
Yeah, sort of like that. And how it's basically like I hate the Hail Hydra thing. It's just so a rehash.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's just such an obvious rehash of Heil Hitler. It's just such an obvious rehash.
Elizabeth?
It's almost shameless how they actually tried to make that like a plot point. But then again, that's just an American thing, isn't it? Just an Americanism.
Yep.
It's the Nazi thing, like obvious Nazi parallels. Oh, that's surface level Nazi stuff.
Makes surface level villains, I guess, in fiction. Otherwise, you can't have a complex villain, and that makes an uncomfortable story for people, I guess.
That's a bit of American culture right there. So this trying to package it into this into the most like easy to digest sort of bit. The most easy to digest movie. There's something like I think English media does as well. It's not really something that I think French media does or German media does or general continental European media does. Maybe that's just because at least not most notable like European media. We actually don't have much compared to the Americans, I think. I mean, you do have these occasional movies about like whatever, like Til Schweiger. That is a big name here in Germany. He basically looks like BJ Blazkowicz. That's kind of a funny. That's kind of a funny bit. Like a German YouTuber used to make a joke about that when he originally reviewed the original like Wolfenstein: The New Order. That he looks like Til Schweiger. Basically, what you need to know is he played like the whole Uwe Boll movies. You know the Uwe Boll. The House of the Dead type of shit.
Yeah.
He played a bunch of roles in those, and it's just so stupid because like I don't know what he actually does. Til Schweiger is just like a handsome-looking guy. Other than that, he's not really that noticeable. I think like he had this huge hit that was called Honig im Kopf, literally head full of honey. They made a US remake on that, tanked. So yeah. I think it's just awful when they make US remakes because something like, how I talked about like M, the original Fritz Lang movie.
Yep, good movie.
Yeah, when they where that town searched for the murderer thing. Yeah, once again, Fritz Lang actually directed a remake of that in like in the 50s in America. And it has like a 20% on Metacritic or something.
Really, that bad? Wow.
Yeah, it is that bad.
Was it just poorly reviewed at the time, or is it just such an inferior remake compared to the one he made prior?
I've never actually seen it, but I know that's not a really good thing to say, but it's just that I don't know, it just seems like a bit symptomatic, doesn't it, of like Hollywood remakes that I think what I can only imagine if the problem being is that it literally is just a remake. That it's just trying to recapture something that was so unique to Germany, and that, once again, this is just me guessing, but that sort of US actors didn't really get. You know, how to portray these dynamics. Because they may just make more sense in Germany. So, you know, with the whole attitude and culture and the way you express words.
Because I know as you were talking about, you know, the top 3 remake, is that kind of what made the remake different? Is because the movie M is very German, I guess, and it didn't translate well when they remade it. Is that also too why, or is that me overthinking it?
No, that's basically what I tried to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's alright. It's just...
Over there.
It's hard to tell because, you know, sometimes remakes are, you know, sometimes, you know, you get those rare, oh yeah, these are really good remakes that nullifies the original, but sometimes you just get them because it's like, hey, we need to make more money, so let's just remake this with a popular movie or something like that. So it's just, I feel like it's, I want to say it's a simple answer, but at the same time it's complex at the same time, but I could do the talk out of my ass. So, and then whatever makes money, you know, it's like the thing when we were talking about like Bioshock 2 and the idea of like where the hell can that series go, and it's like it's basically almost a remake of Bioshock 1.
Just worse, yeah.
And then how I remember reading a couple articles where they're talking about, you know, when Bioshock, you know, because Infinite had such a long and expensive development cycle, it's like naturally it makes sense that, you know, they wanted to make another Bioshock to keep it fresh in people's minds. So it's like, what does it fall under? Because obviously you got the publishers, and you got the other people, and you got all the other people, but then it's got some of the original creators working on it. But how does that make it from the original version and stuff like that? So, like, I feel like there's a lot of variables, and sometimes there is a simple answer, but sometimes like, it's just money.
Yeah. Oh my! No, wait. You actually do have a weapon wheel in this DLC. I just didn't notice. I was weird because I thought like, hey, why can't I pick up this gun? Oh yeah, because I still have it in my weapon wheel. Although it is weird how you can basically only carry 2 like ammos full of ammo. You know, 2 magazines full of ammo. You can only carry 12 rounds for the revolver. Isn't that weird? Like in terms of like you can carry 2 full like magazines, like 2 full you know, 2 full Tommy gun magazines full of shit, but you can only carry 12 bullets, and that's only if you can like already have 6 bullets in your revolver.
Yeah. Which, do you want to hear another American thing that sounds very American?
Yes.
It's so funny because people like to talk about the Tommy gun and the drum mag, but in reality, drum mags are super crappy because they're bulky and uncomfortable. It would make more sense to have a stick mag.
About it, yeah.
It just looks cool, but it's really shitty to have a drum mag because they're cumbersome and they're bulky and they take up a lot of weight.
Yeah, I thought they weren't really reliable. Like, because you have these huge magazines with this huge amount of ammo, and like this mechanism that constantly needs to feed and feed and feed.
Yep, spring load mag, free load thing. That if you're not careful, that thing will spring right out and lose all your bullets.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's totally like, you know, like, it doesn't make sense if you only carry 12, then you can hold like 3 magazines or drum mags, and then you got your shotgun.
Yeah.
Which is a lever action, which I don't know why they have it in here. Like, it's the reason why pump action exists, or semi-auto, because it's way more practical than a lever action. Even Browning was like, this isn't practical, then he made the pump action soon after.
Yeah. No, I think in this game we actually do have a pump action shotgun.
In this one?
Yeah.
I don't think you do have a pump action. Because you got the lever action, which is just a reskin of the lever action from the Infinite.
Do you? Ugh. I don't know.
Because in the original Bioshock, you had that one shotgun, which I can't remember the name of, but it's just called shotgun.
Yeah.
But
Wasn't this the Daily Bread? Wait, this is the day. Oh, right. Weird that they actually made a Bible reference in this game. You know, like the Daily Bread.
Daily Bread. Well, it's all Fontaine, so it makes sense, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, you know from what.
You know, that's the thing that kind of, because you mentioned Bible reference. That's the one thing I kind of noticed when I first heard of Bioshock. I thought it was weird for being such an objectivist city, and yet they have a product called Adam and Eve, and let alone the city's called Rapture. And I always thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
They had a very biblical name.
Yeah. Right.
But
then again,
because sorry, I didn't mean.
No, it's all right. Well, enough, you're the second weird American that always likes to interrupt.
Yep, sorry, it's just how it happens.
No, I think that literally just goes back to the whole, reference, the whole classical elements, they were, they're part of the Art Deco thing, the Art Deco movement. It's more lip service other than actual admiration for the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You know where that the Daily Bread actually comes from? At least where I think the Daily Bread comes from, that part.
Where from?
You know where that comes from? Then I think it's a Bible reference, but I'm not sure. In German, it's definitely.
I should look it up, otherwise we're gonna sound like a bunch of jackasses.
The Daily Bread. Now, I think it's what you call in English the Pater Noster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not sure. No, wait. Pater Noster. The Lord's Prayer. Yeah, right. The Lord's Prayer. I think. Although, give us this day our bread. No, give us this day our daily bread. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespassed us. Oh God. Yeah. I just assumed you'd know because you're American and you're like you have this whole fetish with Christianity, you Americans, right?
I don't know. I may be American, but I'm not that familiar with the Bible.
Well, sorry, that's my fault then for making assumptions.
Happened.
I mean, can you really forgive me? Can you really forgive me for making assumptions about the Bible?
I don't know. As an American, I'm probably gonna hold a grudge for a while.
It's just that, the whole point of Bioshock Infinite was to kind of parody sort of popular elements of American culture, and religion was a huge part of it.
Yeah, which I don't think it does a good job because it kind of does. But I feel like it's more of a parody of what the hell is it? What the hell? It's basically those people who have those mega churches, televangelism. I feel like that's kind of what it is, because it's it's the idea of you giving so much money to Comstock. I feel like it's more of a parody of that, of more modern Christianity than actual Christianity, because they barely make a reference to it. Just like their racism is so shallow, it might as well not be mentioned. So it's very surface level. So it's kind of hard to tell because they don't touch upon it that much.
Yeah.
So it just feels more of just a cult in the sky, I guess, than an actual Christian religion.
Yeah. Well, that's just kind of the whole cults in American fiction. It's basically just something that's basically the elements of Mormonism and the whole the Scientology thing.
Yeah. Which
not Scientology. No wait, actually. I mean, the Scientology does. They have this weird pseudo cross thing, right?
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, because we're just talking about this, it's almost a little back in, how there's no Bioshock movies. You know what's a really good non-Bioshock with Bioshock movie? Is that movie Apostle? Where it's practically Bioshock because it's practically a Bioshock Infinite movie, where basically the whole premise of that movie is this guy has a cult on an island that's almost like, think of it as like Colombia, where they worship this so-called like nature goddess, but give back the land. So it's basically almost like a Bioshock, and the main character was a former preacher or whatever, but after the Boxer Rebellion, where he got his convert, or he got his whatever killed, then he got branded by the Boxers. Yeah. And then he lost his faith like Booker, and then he goes to this island, and then like Colombia, where they have to, because it's an English movie, so it's like like the people who run the cult, like they fear that the British Army's gonna like park their ships and stuff like that. So there's this idea of like trying to keep the foreigners away, or the foreign British government away. Yeah. And the whole thing about that, and you're talking about that. So I feel like that's a good Bioshock movie.
Mm. Is that really a Bioshock movie though? You know what I mean? It's a Bioshock Infinite. Really? It's mainly, if anything, a Bioshock Infinite movie.
Yeah, it's more of a Bioshock Infinite movie, which that may not sit well with a lot of people, because a lot of people feel about Infinite.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it's hard to tell because as we talked about this, is how much information because they made a lot of stuff for Infinite, and they scrapped 5 games worth. So it's like a lot of that stuff could have been meant something more in an earlier build, but they scrapped it.
Yeah. But then
it's like the whole thing of sorry.
Did it really mean more, or was it literally just like an idea that they're floating around like as a rough concept?
Yeah. Because Bioshock Infinite does feel like more of a sea of concepts and stuff like that. There's a couple of good ideas, but a large percent of it feels like just ideas that never really went anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I love the Vox. I like the Vox Populi, but they come in so late to the game and they don't really do anything afterwards.
Yeah.
Then they just become you need something to shoot at, and that's kind of what they become later in the game.
Yeah. Can we talk about this display case? I don't know if I have it on screen right now, but I really like this display case.
Which one is that? Is that the Old Man Winter display case?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's just something. I know that's just a personal thing for me, but these rounded windows, these rounded parts of Art Deco architecture.
Yeah, those rounded.
We should grab that plasma.
Yeah, that's super neat. I know what you're talking about. Just as you were talking about earlier about those one rounded buildings, it's just got a nice aesthetic to it.
Yeah, when they have these marble bits, and they're like, so there's such a nice rounding to it that you don't really see in modern architecture, do you?
Mm-hmm. Everything's square.
Yeah.
Damn it, that son of a bitch drank every last bottle of Old Man Winter.
I think I can help.
What was that?
It's a new plasmid. Lets me bring in things.
I love how she explains like her tear ability as a plasmid.
Sure, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called?
Like in the context of actual application. The context of actual applications for plasmids, it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a concept of plasmids, it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. How does that work? I'm surprised, with the whole concept of tears and stuff like that, I'm surprised they didn't go more into talking about the Vita chambers. And how they're just basically bringing that person who didn't die from another parallel universe back to this one.
Maybe.
I'm trying to remember, because I played them not too recently, but then again, I'm just trying to remember from the audio logs. I could be remembering it wrong.
Alright, I know you're the client and all, but I've gone about far enough without a few answers.
My purpose here is none of your concern. Consider me a means to an end.
And why do I get the feeling I'm being set up?
I told you I'm in collections. An account is in arrears. My clients simply want to see matters set to right.
Don't make any sense, that's all.
If you don't like the arrangement, the bathysphere's back that way.
It's an interesting concept. She just said the bathysphere is that way. Like, it would be so interesting if you could actually go to make some shit. Like, you could literally just pull the lever and then just have a completely different game.
Mm-hmm.
Where you just sit around, wait until the New Year's Eve party.
Yeah.
And that's just when we tie back into that whole thing about game theories, like the whole what you mentioned about Red Dead Redemption about the time traveler, like imagine how fucking boring. Like sometimes it could be interesting, like the time traveler, but most of the time when something like when you could do something like as like an Easter egg as like a whole game, it would be really fucking boring. Like when you had like a crack in the wall, or if you could like escape the test chambers and portal. That's it outright. Imagine how fucking boring that would be.
Yeah, I guess in a way the closest game that I can think that tried to come close but not really is that game Singularity, which is literally a Bioshock clone.
Oh, Singular! Oh my god, yes. You know how in that script that I mentioned, like how I had like a note looks at all the imitators. Yeah, that I have that game in my Steam library. That was the first game I ever thought of. That was the first game the first game I thought of when you mentioned Bioshock ripoffs. Yeah, I played that game, and Jim Sterling like praised it. Jim Sterling literally like said, "Hey, this is really cool. Like, this deserves to be its own thing, but it's really just fucking. It's literally just fucking a Bioshock ripoff."
Yeah.
I can't really show it right now because
I'm trying to remember a lot of the Bioshock ripoffs because there wasn't as many as like the Gears of War or the COD ripoffs, but I'm trying to remember the Bioshock clone game.
Yeah, a Bioshock ripoff. There was this one like Amnesia-like game, you know, that was also set in like an underwater city. And then recently Yahtzee Croshaw, once again to bring him into the picture because everything we talked about today ties into each other. So, no, seriously, he mentioned that the new game that came out, Close to the Sun.
Close to the Sun, which looks really cool, but it's more of just a glorified walking sim.
Yeah, now it's basically just also kind of a Bioshock ripoff because it has the same themes and like the same elements. But yeah, mostly, and how it's basically just really obvious. I mean, it is called Close to the Sun. What else is it supposed to mean? And then he also mentioned about the Nikola Tesla. Like, who cares about Nikola Tesla? Like, as a common man.
Yeah. That guy never had a lot of money to begin with, so he was always working under people.
Yeah, he was like this weird Serb or Croatian or whatever. Like this weird Balkan person. Who then migrated to the US. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, he had this idea of distributing, like, energy, like, through the air or something. So, like how would that have actually worked? Like, you could make a fucking statement for like companies trying to fucking bring him down, energy companies and everything. But actually, wouldn't it make much more sense to not have as many fucking like having to worry about infrastructure if you could just literally send energy through the air? You mean like
wireless power?
Yeah. I mean, in comparison to like power lines, wouldn't that make much more sense? Because
I remember reading a lot about before the alternator, before he helped invented the alternator back then, where they were trying to figure out because the currents didn't have enough things, so they were talking about in the 1800s. They're like, well, I guess we got to build a power plant every mile because I think there's a lot of current, so the alternator came out and distributing power. So it's like it's just hard to tell, like because of the technology was so freaking new, they didn't know what the hell it did. Like shit, they didn't even know uranium was bad for them.
Radio Thor, that weird radioactive water.
Uranium water and stuff like that.
No, it was radium water. Radium, not uranium.
Radium water. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess if anything, the most biggest Bioshock clones I've seen recently was Prey.
Prey?
Yep.
Yeah, right. That's another one.
Where it has literally the Bioshock gun, just chrome it up and put some wires on it, and it's literally the Bioshock gun. It looks exactly like it. The same art style too, which is like neo Art Deco in that game.
Yeah, but Bioshock gun? What do you mean?
Well, the Bioshock shotgun, the way it looks in the first one.
Yeah.
So basically, put that, take off a large ton of the aesthetics, but look the same exact gun. It looks exactly the same. Just put a big number on the side, and it's the same exact gun.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I think it's cool like a shotgun, but still, it's like literally that could have been more obvious. But
Yeah.
it's a decent game, but you know, like you said, it doesn't hold weight because you know you can see the twist coming from a mile away.
What do you mean, like? What do you mean twist in Prey?
Well, because the whole point of Prey is like we got this weird alien called I don't remember what the hell alien. It's like this black like goo alien that can like shapeshift into shit, and then they get bigger, it corrupts people and stuff like that, and it becomes like, oh no, you know, it turns out we were stealing from this alien species and it destroyed Earth, and it turns out you're in a simulation this whole time. So we thought about injecting humanity into one of these alien things, and you wanted to see if it would work, and that's basically the whole premise of the game, is you're in a simulation.
Oh, yeah, that you're in a simulation, yeah, that's basically one of those, like, yeah, we all, like, have this on our mind when it comes to twists, right? Like, because it was just basically the entire point of the Matrix.
Was it a dream or was it a twist? I don't know, both.
Yeah, that's something I really...
As I got older... Sorry, I didn't mean to pick up.
No. What I'm trying to say is... There's a quick side note. The one originally... Like, this twist of... It was all a dream. That's such a fucking cop-out. That's such a fucking...
It is.
Such a slap in the face. You get invested, you think it's something interesting, but then, oh, look, it was just a dream. Like why? Why are you putting us through this? Like, I want someone, like, you should rest now. You should rest now. It was all a dream. Yes. You went into a coma. Like, Batman, the animated series did that. It was like, Barbara Gordon died, you know, Batgirl died, and then you have, like, Commissioner Gordon going all fucking nutcase and trying to find out who Batman is. And then he figured out, and then he raided Wayne Manor, and then they both die, and then, oh no, she wakes up, Batgirl wakes up in the Batcave and everything. It's just really stupid. Like you get invested into this really cool thing, this really interesting thing, but you know that just makes me, that just strengthens the part in me that are cynical. You know what I mean? The kind of thing that bring me out of something. That where you say, oh yeah, right, it's a twist. You couldn't have something interesting because that would switch up the status quo. In a show, like we have. I always thought about media. Sorry, I go on these long rants, but I think I want to have them. Sorry, yeah, but they have the point to it. I always thought about media in like two ways. You know what I mean? You probably don't. Sort of this in-universe type of deal and the behind-the-scenes kind of deal. This sort of cynical, like formulaic type of deal. You know what I mean? We have like these standard plots. Like I hate standard plots because they just don't tell me. They just make me think, oh look, you're going through these motions again. You know, these like body swap stories. You know? Like, oh, we swapped bodies one episode, look how hard it is. Wow. That's some... Was I going to mention about that weird the dog cartoon I watched? You know what I mean?
Crypto?
Yeah, that. How it's so stupid, how it's basically just all ripped off from like 1960s and 1970s family films. Like Freaky Friday and shit.
Yeah.
Like that, we all know how it goes. We've seen it in every cartoon. We've seen it like everywhere, and it's just, if you do it in a movie, I don't have any examples in movies, but if someone dares to put like the storyline into a movie now, like imagine how fucking stale it would look. Imagine how fucking predictable it would be. And that's just kind of interesting how like these weird plots. Well, then these all stem from like movies that. They were interestingly crafted around this then new plot. But now they're just so stale that you can really only wring them out in like 10 minutes. And I think, like, especially nowadays, I don't see that anymore, but I think we really hit the zenith of that in the 2000s. You know, where we had so much culture, so much media that basically did that. Because it just became so regular, so routine making cartoons that you just had these plots coming again and again and again.
Yeah. Well, then too, the concept of cartoons having plots, or you had cartoons plot, but in terms of like a long plot is more of a product of the late 2000s and early 2010s, because back then cartoons were episodic, and you can only tell so much in them, and the idea that it had an arc is unique. You had a few shows, but like it's just the way people consume media now is different than how it used to be. It's like the idea of TV shows. They're always, a lot of percent of them were episodic and stuff like that. And the most that got close to being continuous was like freaking soap operas back in the day.
Yeah, it's just that I think people should have thought about like how it would actually be. Like Phineas and Ferb did that like really well. You know what I mean? I know I say you know what I mean a lot, but you know that like if you look at an episode of Phineas and Ferb now that does like a body swapping plot, or like it was a very formulaic show, but they always try to put an interesting twist on it. You know what I mean? Shit, I said it again.
Try to spice it up a bit.
Yeah, always put something onto it, put a twist in it.
So I feel like if you're constantly, you have to be worried about that, because otherwise you just end up becoming M. Night Shyamalan, where everybody expects a twist, and then it kind of ruins the story.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of balance it between the both. Otherwise, you'd be like, oh, where's the twist? You're expecting a twist, and then when it does come, it either feels half-assed or doesn't feel good anymore. So you have to be real careful too with how you craft your story. I think.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You know what's funny right now? I'm walking over glass shards. I'm walking over glass shards and it doesn't make a noise. You know how much of a big thing that was in the second part?
Yeah. Walk on carpet, it's quiet, and then walking on hardwood floors or whatever.
Yeah. Just really noticeable now, though. Like, imagine it had a real effect. Yeah, a real effect when you did it, because it was so unique. You know what I mean? Oh shit! I said it again. It was a really unique mechanic, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because I know in part 1 they try to encourage you to do stealth because they don't give you that much ammo, but you can still just blow everybody away.
Yeah.
That's probably why they would double down on it in part 2.
Yeah. Although another thing is, I love these little jingles they do for the plasmids. It's such a nice touch. I have like a thing for these American jingles. You know what I mean? Fuck! I mean, they're kind of cute, I suppose. But when they do it right, they really stick in your head. And it just makes it, and it's just kind of sort of I don't know how to put it. It's like, so you have like a bit of leather that your brain occasionally chews on. When there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta let you know, in about 30 minutes, I'm gonna have to get ready for work. So, just wanted to get you a heads up. So about 30 minutes, not right away. So.
Yeah, that's all right. That also makes a good end point for this entire thing.
Yeah. Because I'm amazed how long we've been going for this stream. Damn.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has actually watched this entire thing.
Ah, whatever. If somebody watch it, they'll get something out of it, but oh well.
Yeah, well, I've done this for 3 hours now.
Wowzers. Is that your second longest stream, or is this your longest stream?
I think this is my longest stream.
Oh, wow.
You know what I really think would make this stream perfect? You know, if we actually had people watching it and they would like comment about what we're saying, like at their own points. Because that's something I really want.
They're right, or these guys are full of shit.
No, I mean actually contributing to the situation and think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I think streams should have a sense, not just, oh look, you watch this guy that you watch in other things, like play a video game.
Yeah. Yeah, something contribute because I think sometimes because I know a lot of people like rely on streams, which I'm not a big fan of, especially if you watch Twitch streams,
Yeah.
because they spend more time talking about people who donate that they're worse than like a freaking public radio show at that point. But
Yeah.
all they do is talk about who donated, and they don't really. A lot of the audience don't contribute that much. Well, that's from the people I watch, but I'm not a big fan of watching Twitch streams because
Yeah.
of that whole
No.
donation.
Yeah, I think it would just be interesting. Now, I donated something. I donated like 100 fucking euros to Iron Armenian.
Mm-hmm.
He's like this guy who plays like War Thunder and things.
Yeah.
And I always accompany it with like a little message. I thought it was always like a little joke or something. I think that makes sense, but yeah, I don't know what you actually mean.
Yeah.
You know what? What do you mean actually?
For what? Sorry, I didn't get what you meant.
I didn't know. I also didn't get what you meant. What do you mean with the
both-
donations? With the donations?
Oh, I just meant when you watch a lot of like Twitch streams. Maybe because I'm an old man. I don't know. I find it annoying where you're watching the stream and they'll pause for like 20 or 30 minutes just talking about so and so donated this $20, so and so donated $20, or I don't know. Maybe that's just me because I grew up listening to like public radio, and then I work at a freaking college where any jackass who donates to the thing, they have this big obnoxious plaque saying they're like the furniture was provided through so and so, or the generous donation of this, or this was donated by so and so, and you see it and it just gets under my skin. But that's just me. I'm just an old man yelling at clouds, so don't mind me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't mind you. I love hearing about this.
Yeah. And like we got our work uniforms because our school's like, we're gonna give you guys uniforms, and they're real shitty. So what they did is they gave us, because our school colors, they're Vikings, whatever. So it's yellow and dark blue. So what they did is they gave us these really ghetto yellow shirts, and it's just a t-shirt. And then they gave us like these like this shirt that goes over. It's like it's not a button up, but it's a zip up that goes from the zip down. I don't know why they decided on that, but the people. So you can tell. So this what made me annoyed about this uniform is basically somebody paid to give us those uniforms. So basically, it has this company, which I'm not going to say the company because we're on stream, but basically,
I don't really care about the company. I don't really care about the company.
Yeah, they put this big ass logo that's saying, whatever something company, and then on the side is this little logo that's our school. And I'm like,
so it's like Fly Emirates. It's like Fly Emirates.
Yep, to the point where I was joking at work and saying, why don't they just make this into a stupid NASCAR shirt? Put all these stupid logos and who donated to it at this point. So
yeah, I've never actually seen that in streams.
Yeah. So. But then again, I'm just not used to streams in general, because to me that's something that's new, because I'm so used to like just watching YouTube. Like the concept of Let's Plays to me is just you upload 20 minutes or 30 minutes every week or every 2 days you watch it. So I'm still just not used to streams in general.
Yeah. There was something I didn't get when streams first came about either.
Mhm.
But now I can't imagine it without.
Yeah, that's true. I guess when even the concept of Let's Plays, like the first time I was really introduced to a Let's Play was Game Grumps back when JonTron was on there, and I was watching this and I'm like, what the fuck is this? What are they doing? And I thought it was so weird that it turned me off, but I guess you're right, you just got used to the thing over time.
Yeah. Just wanna do it from I can't use plasmids from on the rails. I wanna do this cool thing where I'm hanging from the rail and just shooting like Old Man Winter at like the water thingy. But now I can't because I can't actually shoot plasmids from the sky rails or pneumo rails or whatever.
Well, at least you can reload, which I don't know how you can actually reload with one arm, but
yeah.
I risk life and limb.
It's part of the job.
You owe me no explanation.
She's just another.
it's like, well, at least I guess they can't pull a Bioshock 2 where you can hold out your plasmid and your gun at the same time.
Yeah.
You have a reason for every stupid thing you've ever done. You started showing up, looking peaked. More for me to feed the bride. Should have known she would never.
How do you lose her?
You know what was funny? When I talked to this American woman, yeah, at this cafe, I mentioned this to you. Right?
Yeah, was it that Texas woman?
Yeah, the Texas woman. Yeah, basically she commented on the way I sound.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I was kind of proud of that.
Oh, what did she say? Like, ooh, you don't have an accent, or like what she said?
Look, you're sort of a British sort of a British accent sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I kind of said that at the same time first time I heard your voice, because I was taken back. Cause I know you mentioned a long time ago that you don't really have an accent.
Yeah. There's actually something they mentioned about. I think that's especially true for people from the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Netherlandese. That's because it's just so easy for them to get exposed to it because of geographical locations and companies like Shell.
Mm-hmm.
So they oftentimes don't even have an accent. And I think for Germany that's becoming true as well. This time I'm picking Eve for the infusion.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm still amazed how well you can type and speak English. It's like, shit, I can barely speak English myself. I'm freaking speaking my whole life.
You know, I always try to like tie. It's hard to actually make like. I want people to know where I come from, but at the same time, I don't want to have the telltale accent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this.
Like he came out of a freaking Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah. Yeah, or like.
With Mike Myers and his sprockets.
I don't get that reference.
Oh well, there was back in the day when Mike Myers was on it. He did a skit like Wayne's World that was basically like Sprockets, where he played like a German expressionist artist, like talk show.
Okay.
And he wore like a turtleneck, and I think he had like white hair or something like that. And he spoke with a thick, cartoonish German accent.
Yeah.
So.
It's actually kind of fun.
Again, that. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Basically, have you heard Uwe Boll actually talk recently? Like IAG, I had everything made a video on it.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's total bullshit. That's so bullshit. It sounds really funny. Even in the way he says it to me as a German makes it sounds funny. But the main thing I try to say is that I want people to know where I come from. So I always try to like put a tidbit in there about, you know, like a word or concept. Wait a minute. Oh, that's another thing I hate with you Americans. You always you always call fucking submachine guns machine guns. You know what I mean? You always call SMGs machine guns.
Oh, I guess it depends. If you're talking to the average Joe Blow, they'll say that. But if you're talking to somebody who knows your shit, they'll use the correct terms. So,
yeah,
but yeah, that's true. Well, it's better than saying freaking what the hell is it? Instead of saying magazine. Oh, I got a clip.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know, if somebody knows what that means, it's gonna get under their skin. So.
Is a clip not just a small magazine, like a small few bullets type of deal?
Yeah.
Like for really big bullets.
Mm-hmm.
So like
calibers and stuff and cart gauges or whatever. Or gauges of shotgun. But
I still don't know why there's an A and a U in it. Engage.
I don't know. It's probably just spelling, I guess. It's like the idea when we were talking about color. Like I'm used to spelling with two O's, not a freaking U.
Yeah.
Cooler.
Color. It's just that it's like I always want to say Gauge. Gauge, because you know the ow, the a, the au thing. The au and the pronounced e thing. It's just such a weird word. Although I saw one of those Reddit videos as well, that basically just said, yeah, the English language isn't one language. It's basically just 3 languages in a trench coat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Should I get, like... Should I try to find the last pick lock? Just to get the extra special whatever from a safe? Or should I just go to the next part?
I'd imagine it's probably just go to the next part unless you got anything else you want to do.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters if I get, like, the special thing that you get when finding... Or did you get from that safe?
Did you get that equipment underneath the elevator when you came down?
Yeah.
Okay. Then,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's nothing else I could think of.
Yeah, that's Pippi Fox. Sorry, another Germanism.
Yep.
Pippi Fox literally means nothing. It literally means like something miss rubbish. Stupid. Although it's kind of funny because it could also be if it was literally translated, it would mean like, you know, a fax, you know, like a fax machine, like something you could say. Yeah, and then you know what Pippi is? Like P-I-P-I. Piss. It would literally mean urine fax. Urine fax. It's such a weird word.
It is.
Something about you doesn't sit right.
Yes.
It's kind of weird that you're about to get on a tram, even though yesterday you were talking about on your Bioshock 2 stream that there's trams in that one too. Now you're basically on a tram to go to another part of the
Yeah,
store.
although it kind of makes sense here. The design makes just more sense. That's literally a giant ball.
Giant bathysphere.
Yeah, and it's actually glass. Because it's really nice to look at. When Bioshock 2, it's literally just a train.
It's just a train, yeah, it goes underwater.
Yeah.
Don't let a kid out of your sight.
But you did.
Yeah.
Which you probably wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure
No,
that far down.
yeah.
Well, again, none of the windows in Bioshock could stand the pressure the way they're designed, but still, we're not going to talk about that detail, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because that would just take the fun out of it.
Let's hope
Believe me, we have talked about so much that has taken the fun out of it.
Only imagine what they
Yep. Well, I guess you can still find joy. Of
Yeah,
seeking out joy.
although I think we've talked about a lot of things that just basically just add a bit of perspective or a bit of more of like typical nitpick rather than like illusion breaking.
It's yeah, that's about right.
You come out and take your medicine. Won't steal.
Recently, I've seen this really funny Jerry Lewis movie.
Which one's that?
Huh?
do it.
So recently, I've seen this really funny Jerry Lewis movie called The Bellboy. I don't know if you know that one. It just has this funny scene. I just was reminded of it. I mean, it wasn't super funny, but it was kind of amusing. They had these little telephone booths. You know, these indoor telephone booths that are kind of here and were like a big thing in the 50s.
What are you doing?
Yeah, they're basically just tiny cabins.
It shows there are more vents like this one in electronics, the bistro.
And basically there was like this woman voice basically had this character that was basically like, I don't know, like a Charlie Chaplin type, like a tramp sort of. So in this Charlie Chaplin getup, this in the Trump getup, was always silent because people being silent in that movie was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
And you had this in this indoor telephone booth. Basically, this woman voice came out of it talking about how rich she was and how she wants a quiet man, an interesting man to sort of share her fortune with. Then out of the booth comes the guy in the Trump outfit, and it's kind of funny because they literally got a woman voice like to do it, and it was kind of a nice twist.
So?
Which reminds me, because you're just talking about Jerry Lewis. I don't know. This feels like old news, but I'm still surprised because for the longest time they talked about how they were never going to release that one movie he did, The Day the Clown Cried. That one movie where he plays a clown in a Holocaust or in a concentration camp, and they never released it because they thought it was so shitty. But they came out as like, oh yeah, by the way, we're probably going to release it in a couple of years just because or whatever, something like that. It's like, wow, you released a movie that's always talked about never being released.
Where are the other vents?
Never actually heard of that one.
Yeah, it's like if you go to like top 10 movies never released, that's like always on top of like this Jerry Lewis movie he did back in the 70s, and they never released it because it was just like, it's basically if that movie Life is Beautiful but shittier. Like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of fucking like Holocaust movies that are basically just that.
Yep.
Basically just trying to explore this, but I think I know, as an audience, I think we've all seen a lot of these, like a lot of what it was like, and basically we've already come across the point that we don't want the Holocaust. We don't really want to see it. We don't really want it to make it happen. But that's just kind of a thing that's always been one of the main focal points in Germany. Like, not like even among like far right groups, you never have any anti-Semitism or any strong anti-Semitist rhetoric. Just because it's just been so out of fashion. It's gone so popular. It was really popular, to do back in the early 20th century, but now 100 years later, we just don't do it because it's not, like, we just don't see a reason for it. Like, it's part of the, of course it's part of the whole, like, we want to be progressive now thing, but it's more that, just that we have, like, once again, it's even among the far right that it's not really that much of a big thing, like anti-Semitism. Like, I think, like in the US, and especially like jokes about 4chan or something, like there it's where it's prevalent more than any actual political party in Germany. More than you would probably think, because oh look, the Nazis happened. Like I shared with you this article about where there's one website, like the Trumpet, this article about. There's basically just Germany rearming, and then it went off the rails and basically just said, oh look, the Third Reich is coming back in Germany.
Oh, Mickey just wants to get a little
Probably the only imaginable thing I could see, like how I would get Americans to stop assuming, would be to literally make a bunch of fucking, like Aldi, how they become a big thing in Germany now. I'll talk with you about this. Basically, make a bunch of things. We have like Germans, like make a bunch of Nazi jokes about it. Actually put that into like an ad or something. Like you have a literal column marching through the aisles of Aldi or something. Just actually like actually hire Germans for it, and let's like make jokes about it that like even German brands know, and like they aren't as hush about it as like something like Volkswagen. Yeah, where that we are actually done with it, that we make fun of it just like everybody else. Like that's why It's probably the only way I could see Americans like stop making like these assumptions about Germany.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's true. Then again, too, Americans and generally other people are just ignorant of the idea of like, oh, Germans and their Nazi stuff. Because like I said, I mentioned a long time ago, it's like the only thing people know about Germany's history is freaking Nazis and like,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe knights or something, and that's about it.
I don't even think knights are part of what Americans know about Germany. It's just like
Nah, that's true.
it's more about this English thing, you know, this English fetishization of like history, the Battle of Hastings and that.
Yeah.
Like King Arthur and that. That's basically all the extent of what Americans know. Like, I could go into a whole rant. Like, internally, I've already gotten through a whole rant about why I don't like Americans doing fantasy shit today. Like,
Fantasy shit. Yeah.
you know, like medieval, pseudo-medieval stuff. Like, I can't do anything with that because I can't connect to it. Because I live in a country that's full of castles. And, like, if you do shit like that, like, what am I supposed to do with it? What am I supposed to take away from it? It's like, it's something that's made for people, obviously, who don't have castles, who have this, like, general idea about medieval Europe and want to explore that. But I think...
Super romanticize it.
Yeah. And then put dragons in it.
Yeah.
Just put dragons in
Well,
it.
it depends if how well you can treat the matter, because, you know, like, fantasy, you know, a large percent of it came from freaking J.R. Tolkien. Everybody's built
Yeah,
off of him,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
And that's the problem, too, is that he created a fictional setting that everybody just pillages from, like John Carter.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like create something where somebody just created it's like John Romero and his zombies. He created the zombie fiction, and then everybody stole off of him because he didn't copyright it. But still, it's like the idea of you create one thing and everybody, you know, freaking castles and elves and shit. It's like, you know, it's only so much you can do unless you're like The Witcher. But still.
Yeah, although that's from a Polish developer, so...
Yeah.
That's another thing entirely. The kind of thing that the really reason that I've always said I don't like I don't like fantasy, I don't like that stuff. It's not that I don't like the period, but it's just that I can't connect to people where they shit and in a bucket and threw it out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I can't connect to a period like that without having some kind of matter across it. Like, you Americans, that must be hard because you kind of come off like the late 15th centuries where you basically come into the picture, literally into the world, and that's already when it's done. You don't have any history, you don't have any castles built. The closest thing you have, the closest thing you have is basically
we got Native American ruins, but nobody counts that shit, even though they're like thousands of years old. But Americans don't count that, so. But yeah, I know what you mean. The history is just too new, and there's only so much. Like, to us, ancient history is like the fucking Civil War or something.
Yeah, that's another thing I don't like. How you always say the Civil War.
It's the Civil War.
Yeah,
nothing else matters.
exactly. I fucking hate that. The thing is, today I watched a bunch of documentaries about the German history. They really did a great job recreating like men on horseback and everything. Like going through windows, like ancient Germanic pagan practices. They really did. Yeah. They all wrapped that up in a really nice package in this documentary series, Die Deutschen, the Germans, and how it basically was from the beginning of the first century of the 10th century something, or like the 9th or 8th, the 9th or 10th century, something around that. And how that basically built up over time through the Holy Roman Empire to modern German history. And that's a way I can actually look at medieval times and actually sort of find myself to actually navigate it. You know what I mean? Because you have... So you create these worlds in fantasy that they just have no connection to the real world, and they're really just interchangeable, aren't they? Just, when it comes down to it, like... You have these weird things, and like it's become such a genre. Almost this point, it's not a setting; it's a genre. Like that's another thing Yahtzee Croshaw mentioned. Like once again, I'm just gonna pick apart a bunch of his points where he talked about Days Gone. You know, that game I thought could be decent, but then turned out to be really boring and mediocre.
Really average.
Yeah. Where he said like this game could basically fit into the continuity of several other zombie movies or zombie franchises like Left 4 Dead and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically what I think a lot of medieval stuff is. You know, it could comfortably fit into lots of other, like, I don't see a reason why Game of Thrones couldn't fit into the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, on concept, I don't see that.
Yeah. Well, also too, it depends how much effort. Because when people think of fantasy, they think of surface level shit. Like they don't delve into a lot of the actual history of like what was going on in that period. Because people like to think of nothing was going on during the out of term Dark Ages, which nobody uses that anymore unless you're an idiot. But still, like a lot of people don't think. But you realize there's a lot of stuff going on in terms of trades, economics, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff going back and forth. Like there's a lot of stuff going in that period. But you get people who are ignorant who only think of like castles. It's like there's more to that. Like there's a reason why those castles exist. So it just comes down to if they did the research or not too.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting hearing about the Carolingian Renaissance, which is a part of Germany under I think it was actually along Charlemagne. No, not Carolingian, but I think it was a descendant of Karl. Basically, he introduced a bunch of writing. He actually standardized a lot of the modern understanding of Latin, like in his castle, in his books, and how the clerics would write, and that actually did a lot of good for the writing in the period. Because the main point was that everything should be written in Latin, so that people all across Europe could understand it, because people have roots in there, from Britannia to the tip of Spain. To over then to Byzantium. And I think that's just way more interesting thinking about Byzantium during this whole period. You know what I mean? Say it again. Because Byzantium was by its own coinage, the Eastern Roman Empire. And to think that went through the entire period of the Middle Ages is just really interesting. What's your favorite Bioshock plasmid?
Favorite Bioshock plasmid? I almost want to say the freaking Swarm, because I thought it was the most useless plasmid until I was playing those games back to back, and I never realized how useful Insect Swarm was.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is really fun, I like it. But just the idea of freaking living creatures spewing out of your skin and attack something is kind of gnarly too.
Yeah.
So, what about yours?
I don't know, I think a lot of the Bioshock Infinite plasmids are cool, how they sort of rebranded them and have like these little icons to it. Like, I think Shock Jockey is still one of my favorites. It's just kind of the makeup and the concept of shooting lightning through crystals out of your skull, out of your skin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good one too.
Also, Broken Bronco is probably a close second.
It's a pretty neat one. I like when you look at the art of Bioshock. I love the amount of concept art went into making those designs for those bottles. Like, damn, talk about having frivolous money to making shit.
Yeah.
All the concepts they did is like, damn, any one of those would have been good.
You know what sucks though about Bucking Bronco?
The what?
About the plasmid Bucking Bronco. That you get teased by it at the beginning of the game of Bioshock Infinite.
Oh yeah, and you don't get it?
Yeah, this machine, you can buy it theoretically, but you cannot actually buy it because, like, even with fucking hacks, like going out of the fucking boundaries and like keeping the gate open or something, they can still. I think it's really hard to actually get all the coins. Like, I think it's 300 money to actually get that plasmid, and it's so hard to actually get that money even when you have access to the following part. And that's so fucking annoying. It's so fucking annoying. Like, why did they put it there? Why?
Probably just the tease. I don't know.
Yeah, but what's the point of teasing?
But again, it's hard to tell because I bet you, like I mentioned before, like I got a strong feeling that Bioshock Infinite was built a year before the game shipped. So I bet you could have gotten it at one point, and then they just shift stuff around. So I bet you at one point you could have gotten it. Like that could have been like your first plasmid you got or whatever. But who knows? I'm pretty sure if you dig around, you can find out why. But like I got a strong feeling that that game was built a year before shipping or whatever, and that was something at one point. So I could be wrong, but.
I just realized I didn't get the. Fucking radar range.
You completely forget.
Yeah, like the whole daily bread. I thought about like that's the whole.
It's not in the Daily Bread. It's in another place. It's when you get off the tram to the second location. It's at another diner, which I can't remember where.
Oh right. Then
Yeah.
what was the Daily Bread again?
Or the other restaurant. I don't remember where it's at. Let me look it up.
I think a good summary of the shock jockey electrocution plasmid is basically just this one meme or this one copy pasta that people post like when there's a really flashy video and they just say, "Wow, I showed this. I like this so much. I showed it." But I think it went like. Wow, this is a great video. I showed this to my epileptic friend. He likes it so much that he's now dancing on the floor. I think that's a good summary of the electrocution plasmid.
Yep, the location I think you're in from the stream is that's where you get it from.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah.
Then what was the Daily Bread again?
The Daily Bread, that was the first location when you went to the store.
Yeah, I mean, what was there again?
Oh, what was there? Or where was it?
No, wait, I think this was.
Yeah, this is the one because you get it from a second restaurant. So.
Yeah, I think the first thing you got at the Daily Bread was actually the Tommy gun. Like,
Yeah, that's what you got. There you go. Yeah, you're right.
I remember it being really unceremonious. Oh,
You
dude.
just get it, and here you go.
Yeah, from a splice or something. Fuck. Like I stood in front of the door. I remember now. Like, there were all these splices that I thought I'd get rid of first, and then I completely forgot about the door. Ah, fuck. Like they all stood in water right now. I could have fucking electrocuted them, but I didn't have enough Eve. Shit. Still not enough. Now I have enough. Eve, can I actually electrocute them now? And I think I just did, yes.
Radar range. Never could figure out if the thing's designed to cook a turkey or a splicer.
Damn door's got a key code lock.
Don't you get fall damage? Oh, I guess never mind. I'm looking at old footage. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah, I'm literally just looking at what you were talking about a moment ago about using your electric to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Trying it out on everything. Apples, marshmallows, spoons. Had himself a fine time until our Pekingese stepped in the way. And for some reason, I'm the one in touch with the...
Alright, in a few minutes, I'm gonna let you go, since I gotta get ready for work.
Yeah.
So don't
So I guess we can just start wrapping it up, I guess. Or I guess I can leave and you can finish the thing since you're like almost so close to the end of the game.
Yeah. Fuck, what is the code? Yes.
The code?
I forgot what the code was, you talked over it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
No, I literally just put up this oven of the future bit just for the code because it doesn't actually say it on the summary.
Oh.
Oven of the future, huh? Yeah, the kid got hold of that damn radar range last night. Started trying it out on everything. Apples, marshmallows, spoons.
It's 3958.
Until our Pekingese stepped in the way.
3-9.
For some reason, I'm the one in touch with the wife. I locked the damn thing up. Oh, so don't forget the code. It's 3958.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I love how they have Brody helmets, the turrets. I just love the concept of, like in Rapture, it's literally just a chair with a machine gun on it. But in Columbia, it's literally this guy or this robot that looks like a dude. That looks like a man. Like the actual, like with a helmet and everything. Right, I remember there were 2 restaurants in this thing for some reason. But were there 2 restaurants in this entire thing anyway?
Huh?
Like, I wonder what, like, in terms of game design, why were there 2 restaurants?
I don't know. I think it was just. That's a really good question because like I said, like you, I forgot. I thought the radar ray was in the first restaurant. I forget there was 2. So I don't know. That's a good question. So, all right, well, I guess it's that time, so I got to get ready for work. So, thanks again for having me on, and fun finally talking to someone for 3 years.
Yeah. I'm just gonna end it now as well. It was really fun. Probably this is probably one of the. It's long. It's probably one of the few things that I'm actually proud to have, like, on this channel. Because it's just, I think this has a lot of content to it. There's a lot of potential entertainment value.
A lot of value, yeah, it's true.
That
I'm glad you feel proud about that. So yeah, if you want to resume this tomorrow or later, it's fine by me since I'm not doing anything. So yeah, if you want to, we can talk later. We can just schedule another time period and we can just resume where we left off since we barely touched the game. So.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna renegotiate another time period. Next time, I think the 1920s.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. No, seriously, it was fun. Although later, I'm not gonna do anything later because it's literally 20 to 12. So it's nearly midnight, so yeah, I'm gonna stop. I hope everybody had fun. Everybody that wasn't watching.